Hey everyone, welcome to the Chips and Tips podcast, episode number 3. I'm Tim Paul from Toolpath. I thought it'd be good to grab a beer and have a good chat with my buddy Chris Zappettini from Zappettini Consulting. So, with that, before we get started, I have some bullet points to talk about if we need to nudge our conversation along. But I think let's start off with Chris. Give me a little about who you are, what you do. What I really want to drill into is, why are you so passionate about what you do? If anybody follows you on Instagram or just knows you, you're definitely passionate about what you do.
Yeah, so I mean, most people know, but if they don't, like I run a little consulting company that primarily focuses on CNC machining, um, anywhere from training to like full blown turnkeys. Like I'm in um, an office at one of my customers right now. Like that's where I'm recording from. They gave me an office. I closed the door. Like it's kind of a sweet setup. I got like dual
Awesome.
monitors.
Yeah.
Matsur is running. We're doing a process improvement job right now.
Cool.
It's an interesting one because it's a job that we did like a year and a half ago, and we're firing it back up again. The job ended in a weird way, like very bizarre way. We can get into that in a second.
Wow.
But yeah, so I travel all over the country. It feels weird being in the Bay Area because it's like home, but it's not home. Like I grew up here, so I like it here. I lived here about half my life, I guess, at this point. But anymore, that kind of goes out the window. And like next week I'll be in Reno, and the week after that I'll be in New York, and the week after that I'll be in New Jersey, and just it's job to job to job. And I do I the man, what a big question to ask is like why I'm so passionate, because like I don't know. Like it's such an interesting, it is a good one because uh I think I interrogate that every once in a while and kind of back off of it most times because it's like, oh, that's a big one. But it's like, why do I kill myself so hard for a bunch of, in most cases, like anymore, they're not quite assholes, but most of my customers are pretty good. I've done a lot of work, like kind of weeding out the ones that I don't like, and can kind of tell very early on at this point in like the like courting phase, you could say, whether or not it's somebody I want to engage with.
Yeah.
Good example being like these guys. It's like, hey, this is how we do things. If you want our assistance, this is what we're gonna do. And they're like, we want to do this, and it's like, cool, no, like I'm not gonna do that. And they're like, but we want you to help us. And it's like, right. So this is the agreement. Yes or no. And they're like, we want this. Like, cool. Then no. Like, and it kind of blows their mind a little bit, you know? But it takes.
Let me jump in, right? How long have you been doing this as a full-time thing?
4.5 years. I started it in like the best time to start a business, September of 2020. And that's when I went full time, kind of whole hog. It truly is kind of like a very good time. It was kind of a good time to do what I'm doing, just because there's unfortunately not a lot of talent entering the industry and a lot of talent leaving the industry. And so going from like one to like, as people move away and it's like, oh, we need help programming, we need help setting up a machine, we need help getting this product off the ground, yada yada yada, we end up like being able to like slide into those spots.
That's where we have a lot of parallel things that we'll discover here.
Yes. Yeah. And hold on, because all of this is avoiding answering the question of why I like what I like, why I like this industry. Yeah. So
before you really get to that, how long did it take you to realize you kind of had to start like not hiring customers or firing customers? And then we'll finish this little thought with what do you feel like it fuels you? So Is it fairly recently where you've been basically firing customers?
No, I think it's been about 2 years or
Okay.
so that we've been doing this.
Would
Like Dylan and I read a book for the book club, the Within Tolerance book club, called The Pumpkin Plan, which the whole concept of it is about firing customers essentially. And
you
the real core concept of it and how he how he mythologized it is, he was doing research for a book and he was going around and looking for parallels for business or whatever. And he happened on the pumpkin plan when he went to go visit a farm of some guy growing like big pumpkins for competitions.
okay.
And the thing that he realized is like pumpkin seeds for prize pumpkins are crazy expensive. And the care that you give to that pumpkin, that prize pumpkin, isn't the care that you give to all your other pumpkins. Like, it's not the only pumpkin that he's growing, right? He has a pumpkin farm, but he treats this one special because it's big
Little special.
and it's like it's the one.
Yeah.
But and to that point, he doesn't like the extreme part of that, and like where he kind of goes into like the whole pumpkin plan is, you don't water a dead pumpkin like you water your prize pumpkin. You cull that from your farm and it goes away.
Yeah.
And so you kind of take that philosophy to your customers, which is, what are we good at? What do we like? Like, who's
Yeah.
giving us guff and things of that nature. Like, I did like an incredibly difficult, and it wasn't really difficult technically speaking. It was difficult because the customer, um, like I don't know. I guess it was my fault or whatever, but the the turnkey was like sour essentially. We reprogrammed probably 75% of 20 parts, and he's like, why is this taking so long? It's like, we're so far outside of the scope. It's like there's no scope. And so like, yeah, it's taking long, but we've reprogrammed everything. And he's just not getting it because to him, I need to sell, he needs to sell, I need to sell, I need to sell, I need to sell. It's like, right. And we need to make stuff and you're changing it on the fly. And then it's causing us to like, we have to change. We're like redesigning, reprogramming fixtures and reprogramming parts and whatever. And he's like, that's terrible. It's like, it's terrible for both of us, you know, like, and that's a customer where it's, I just don't want to work. Like that's a never again kind of thing. And it has led me to, in a very recent project, like I'm holding the line so hard with this customer. It's like out of control where it's like, I went there for a week, and I was on site for a week and the fixture that they designed and had built didn't show up. And it's like, cool. All right. I'll see you in 2 weeks. And they're like, what do you mean? It's like, well, I have a schedule. I was expecting to cut chips.
Yeah.
We didn't even get the fixture. So I'll come back when the fixture shows up. And the fixture showed up. They're like, oh, we're going to do it. We'll put the fixture on ourselves and we'll just do this ourselves. And it's like, okay, no problem. They call me. They're like, hey, how does the fixture attach to the rotary? Like, I don't know. I didn't design it. Like, and then so we ended up having to like rush make these pieces for them. And it's like, hey, reminder, I'm not coming back until the fixture is in the machine. Like, I'm just not going to do it. Like, and so I did. They installed it fucked up. Like, it was like way fucked up. And then spent like a whole other week on their floor, like troubleshooting this fixture and like remanufacturing stuff like there, only to find out that the rotary that they selected can't handle the weight of the fixture. And it's like, well, we can this fixture doesn't need to be made out of steel. Like, it can be made out of aluminum. It'd be fine. And they're like, no, it has to be made out of this. So now we're like in this zone of, we're remaking stuff, and they're re-upsizing the fixture and all this other stuff, but we're like just so incredibly hard with them because it's like, I'm not like, before I would have probably bent over backwards and like fucked everything up, like my whole schedule, to like try and appease these guys who suck. They're like the worst. So it's like, well, I'm going to hold the line with you. I'm going to be flexible for the people that I would need to be flexible for and leave. Cause I like working with these people. I don't like working with you. Like the people that I'm at right now, like I worked till 9:30 last night and I'm happy to do it. I like it. It's a fun project. Um, and it's just different where you're like the projects where you're like, fuck, dude, I just need the day to end. Versus this where
Yeah.
it's like, God, I wish I had more time. I want to keep going, but I have to sleep kind of thing.
So I want to circle back to the passion part about what makes you so passionate. I'm going to share real quick. I think you just helped me realize why I was so passionate about machining. Oddly, how I've
Hmm.
kind of gotten out of it, but I'm not diagnosed, but I'm certain I have some ADD and some of that kind of stuff. And I found growing up, like it was impossible for me to focus on things that I was disinterested in. And that's
Right.
the thing that I found with machining and certain things very often it has to do with mechanical things, but that's like what I found in machining was it was the thing I could hyper focus on, and it was the thing that I
Hmm.
like found flow with, right? If anybody's
Yeah.
taking notes, there's a documentary called Happy, Happy. It
Yeah.
talks about people finding their flow from working a line in a fast food place to working a rickshaw in some third world country to machining. And
Yeah.
as you were talking, like those jobs that like you just get into it and you're going. Next thing you know, it's 1 a.m. and you're just still like, for me, I have a hard time
Yeah.
sleep after that because I'm still like,
Yeah.
excited,
You're fired up.
right?
Yeah.
So for me, it was like
Yep.
that. It was just something that triggered with me. So I'm not answering for
Hmm.
you. I wrote that down. I want to come back to like why you feel so passionate about what you do. But
Yeah.
um,
I I don't know why like it's a I think it just comes down to this industry is all about solving problems, you know?
yeah, yeah,
And all we do is solve problems like cutting apart is solving problems, programming, fixture design, yada yada yada, like machine selection, it's all problem solving. And so
that's it.
it's like a puzzle. It's like
Yeah,
a puzzle that you're always piecing together, and like there are things that work and there are things that don't work, and you always kind of like everything you do, you just kind of put in your toolbox like, "Oh, that's a trick to solve a puzzle. That's a trick to solve a puzzle."
yeah,
And everything is unique. Like the stuff we're doing right now is the unique thing about it is the material, it's 6061 T0 material, meaning it's like
yeah,
absurdly soft. Like it's a quarter inch sheet and like you can just fold it like a piece of paper.
yeah.
You like look at it wrong and it's scratched and it's fucked up. The part is scrapped. Uh it is you have to be so gentle with it. It smushes. It's so incredibly gummy. So the tooling has to be like very dialed in. It's and like the last time we did it was with T6 material.
Okay.
So it's different but the same. Like
It's the
and that the
airplane.
parts the same, the requirements are the same, but there's this massive variable in the material condition that changes. Like, okay, we're going to be able to do certain things such as like we're going to be able to get to get cycle time down but not as much because we can't like it's gummy and it grabs. Deburring the part is incredibly hard because the material is so soft, it just kind of like it just pushes all over the place. And because it's a wave guide, you can't have like a chamfer, so you can't actually cut the edge. You can only like you can kiss it, but you so it's just it presents a lot of challenges. Um, and it's fun. Like it's just very exciting, especially like when you start seeing progress and things. It's neat.
Yeah.
Um, that is one aspect of the thing that's nice is like getting into because like for me, I didn't do anything mechanical like all through high school, right?
Oh,
I went to college, I went to ASU, um, at the Polytechnic campus at ASU at the time was this guy, Trion Georgiou, who
Sure.
teaches down
Yeah.
at
Yep.
Cal Poly, San
Good.
Luis Obispo. He was my professor. He's an
Shout out
incredible
to
dude.
Trion. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. He's a great dude.
yeah, yeah, he's incredible. Like we had a blast. And he was very passionate. That was like something that like rubbed off, right?
Yeah.
I do shout him out every chance I get, like
Me too.
because he was the an incredible teacher, and he just let us like. The nice thing like while I was there, we had no training wheels, like
Yeah.
it was like, well, here's a surf cam and a VF2, have fun, and
Yeah.
so that's what fired it off right away. And then kind of just like, and all call it, I mean, all engineering school is, in my opinion, is like teaching you how to solve problems. Like you're never going to be in a position where it's like, oh, I mean, it kind of, but it's like, I know how to cut parts now, or I know how to like kind of design a bridge, but like I know how to design blah blah blah. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't give you everything to like do the stuff. It just gives you a set of tools to then go ahead and apply them. And that was like sick. So there's that whole thing
I'm glad his
with the
name came
problem
up.
solving.
I'm glad his name came up. So
Yeah.
there are two things here to tie together. So, it's typical of my style. Last minute, I went on Instagram, asked people if they wanted to ask any questions. We're gonna get to those
Hmm.
and I think we want to wrap up with those. But
Sure.
Andrew from Utah Tech, I think we'll circle back to the problem solving stuff because he asked some questions about how to guide his students. I too try to shout out Trayon as much as possible.
Nice.
I like my last job at Autodesk was in education, so I already knew Trayon
Hmm.
probably the last 10 years, but he was definitely one of those educators. I met him at Cal Poly Slow, and he was one of those
Right.
educators that like, oh, I want to stay connected with this guy. Like he's doing something special for the
Yeah.
industry. I I personally wish he was more involved with like vocational programs. I think that's where my heart is
Yeah.
in engineers, right? Um,
Hmm.
but just watching how he
I will say,
teaches, say it again.
yeah. I was gonna say, I
Watching
will
how he
say,
teaches
like,
is very like
yeah.
problem solving kind of stuff. What were you gonna say?
Hmm. Just like there's a couple buddies that I know that I've made as a result of like him having taught them.
Oh, cool.
Is like when I worked here in the Bay Area, and I was like the last job I had, I was director of engineering for a contract manufacturer. And
Okay.
I was like looking to hire an engineer. So I reached out to Trion and I'm like, who you got? You know?
Yeah.
And it's this kid, Ahmad, who works for Intuitive now.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, we were like good buddies, and he makes really good engineers.
Yeah.
He does a great job, and he does the thing that I think is hard, is like he teaches at a baseline, right?
Mhm.
But the people that excel, like myself or a Matt or whatever, like you reach out to him and he will foster that so hard.
Yeah.
And that is what is missing, I think. And like to with Andrew, like to answer that, is you find, like, you pick out the people, and like there are people that just aren't gonna care, right? They're going to school to be an engineer because they want to live in spreadsheets all day, and that's fine, right? There's nothing wrong with that. I couldn't do it, you couldn't do it, but there are people that love that shit, and good for them, whatever. But
Yeah.
there are people who, like myself and like a couple other guys that I went to school with, who were incredibly hands-on, and like you just kind of like pluck those people out and like foster that thirst for knowledge and that passion or whatever. Because the the one of the things that was told to me as I like was getting hired to go work at Methods was like, he's like, you don't know anything, right? Essentially, like as he's like, for what we're doing, you don't know shit, but you're passionate, and that's the only thing that I can't teach you. is passion. So outside of that, if you got passion, I could teach you anything. I can teach you anything
Yeah.
in this industry. But the passion can't teach that. If you don't want to do it, you don't want to do it. That's just, and
Yeah.
that's. I don't think there's anything like wrong. I mean, if it's not your industry, it's not your industry, right? Um,
Yeah.
it sucks. Like, yeah, I don't know. That's that that being said, another thing that I really enjoy about doing the job that I do now and what I enjoyed in applications and like the customers that I really like to work with are guys that don't know anything, you know?
Yeah.
And working with guys that know nothing, it's so fascinating and rewarding to help them like grow their business or like the knife like I have a customer in Reno, that's who I'm going to see next week. Um, who he didn't own a USB before he met me, you know? Like he was a he
Sure.
made knives by hand. Like he had no
Yeah.
need for it.
Oh my.
Um there
That's
was and so but then he's like the space that and like what we're doing it just doesn't mean like how his business was running, he needed to do something else and so he bought a DT2 um
cool.
and and then Selway recommended me to him, and then we got him set up like with pallets and like profiling blades. So almost the entire knife gets done now instead of by hand, but by a machine, and then he just does the sharpening by hand, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like
That's
and done. Yeah, it's
thinking my
incredible. But and
Elon.
uh yeah, and that's like Fusion and Haas specifically. Like a big shout out to those because like he's like, "Oh, why?" Like sometimes things will get wonky, and I'll be like, "Oh, let me go into Fusion and see what's going on." Like, I see what I did there. We need to make this adjustment. Post, here you go, whatever.
Yeah.
And then the Haas control, it's like he knew nothing. I spent a week and a half with him, and then he was running. No problems. He could
Yeah.
probe, he could load programs, he could
Oh,
run programs.
the controls consistently predictable from since 19 whatever, right?
Yeah,
I had
yeah,
a neck surgery when I was at L3 Communications. I had a neck surgery. I'm on morphine in the hospital. Half my body's paralyzed, and my asshole boss asked if I could talk the facilities guy through machining this tens of thousands of dollars, part. And I'm like, "Yeah,
sure,
no
yeah,
problem." Yeah, and I remember being
yeah,
like, what's that top left button? Oh, okay, yeah, go 2 over from there." And
yeah.
he totally machined, I had a program already, and it was basically ready to start before I had this emergency problem. Um, but I met Kurt Zirhut, 2 years
Okay,
ago. Do
yeah.
you know who Kurt Zirhut is?
I don't.
So I know who Zirhut was one of the his brother. I'm just spacing on his name, but Zirhut was a senior leadership person at Haas, business
Okay.
person. Kurt Zirhut is this older guy. Looks like he's retired. I was at a national H Tech conference in Arkansas, spending time with Trion, doing
Nice.
this cool
Oh,
demo where we were making this UMC dance around like a little hula hoop thing. Um,
nice.
and this old guy, I hope he's probably not listening, but this old guy was just lingering, and he kept asking like these curveball conversations about the Haas. I kind of highlighted how I was disappointed with the coolant drainage from the UMC 500, and um,
Yeah.
long story short, we're having drinks later at the social hour, and I'm like, "Hey, you never told me what you do." And he's like, "Oh, I sweep the floors at Haas. Oh, I should have put my name tag on." He purposely took his name tag off. So
Yeah.
Kurt Zierhut is the dude that started Haas with Gene Haas. He was the
Oh,
electrical
alright.
engineer.
Yeah.
He was the electrical engineer that basically came up with the Haas control, the layout of the Haas
Okay.
control, and all that. And I don't want to
Wow.
overstate it, but like I remember being like, you probably changed the industry more than many people give you credit for. Like just having this consistent,
Yeah.
predictable control, right? Uh,
Right. Yeah, big time.
that's a long rant, but it felt like a special little moment for me because I did know
I
her as well.
I
Um, I was like,
Yeah. That's cool.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, it's a shout out to him doing what makes Haas like kind of special, is that it's not gonna like the machine isn't gonna like I mean, everybody knows like, it's not gonna blow your pants off with its accuracy or whatever, but you can basically throw any asshole in front of it and they can run it,
yeah.
Like, and you can if somebody calls you and they're like, "Oh, how do I do this?" It's like, "Oh, you
Okay,
can Google the control and be like, oh, push this button and push that button and
yeah,
push that
no,
button." And you're like, "Cool, all right."
do that across several
And it's like,
generations
"Oh,
of Fanuc or Siemens or whatever, and it's a different situation.
yeah, right,
Um,
yeah,
so anyways, that was super interesting for me. You brought up what would be like the accessibility of machining, right? Um,
hmm
and that was probably now if we want to get into you know what do you call it consulting? I always call it like consulting or contract programming type of work that you do.
uh, I
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know, man. It's just I kind of call it like more contract applications because we do contract programming,
Yeah.
but a lot of like what I really excel at is just like boots on the ground, like setup and training and process improvement. That's like really where we shine because it's I don't know our my superpower is like doing like quick setups quickly.
Okay.
I would say.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's what I do. That's what I would
Well,
call it.
I don't run into many people that are doing it outside of, this thing they're hustling between jobs, right?
Yeah,
So when you and I met, I did it for a pretty long time.
right.
And I was always like, help people make parts. Probably the most
Yeah.
rewarding of my job is kind of what you were getting at with your knife, your knife customer is I help several shops basically pick out machines, help lay out their shop, where the
Mhm.
machines are going to go. And so I help several people that had this idea bring it to design and, what machines to buy, where to put them in the machine in the shop. And that was by far the most rewarding stuff I did. Like I fired them, which was basically training them how to do their own work.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
Right. Right.
And some of my best friends right now are those people that I was like, man, you can't run a profitable business and keep paying me to make every single part you make. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's,
It it's interesting when you get to a point where people like you've given them all the tools, but they still want to keep using you. And it's like, you don't have to use like you can do this on your own. Like it's fine. And I want you to succeed on your own. It's okay. But some people it's like, no, 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 I want you to help me. And it's like, oh, okay, like cool, sure. If you want, I mean, if you want it and you can afford it, I'm down, I'm here for it. But like it's okay if you do it yourself.
yeah. How did your footprint spread? I mean, you're getting all over, just through your network of people and knew somebody and
It
it's the guy.
it really comes from methods. I worked at methods in Arizona and I worked at methods in Boston. And so I'm very familiar with like oh, excuse me, a lot of people over there
Yeah.
and the dealers. I do a lot of work with the dealers, but because I was in apps and everything, like it's such a weird pipeline. But I went from applications to the director of engineering for this company to now doing my own thing is essentially that's why I call it more like contract applications because I do like I've been like half the shit that I've done this year is just training,
Yeah.
you know? Like but I do like it's like training plus or whatever. Like it's beyond just machine training because I essentially won't train somebody unless they have a part to cut. Like I'm not showing you how to use the machine unless we're cutting chips.
Yeah.
And that might be a bit extreme for somebody, but it's like all the questions are gonna come when you start cutting. Like
Yeah.
I think like Dylan could attest to this is that I mean he went to Wisconsin to do Hermela training and then he gets back to start cutting and it's like, oh fuck, wait, how do I do this shit? And like he I mean obviously he worked through it, but I think that's I'm putting words in his mouth, but it's it's here's our part. Like, we're going to set this part up together. Hopefully you program it. But sometimes like I've gone as far as programming the part for them. Like,
Okay.
and I'll give them a week and it's expensive, but we'll like during that week, like one of my more successful, the two that I did recently was an MX100, that was a 2 week endeavor. Where we did a big, like a titanium aerospace part, and that's a B-axis Nakamura with the lower turret. And so it was one where like I programmed the part, and we were showing them how to run the machine, and at the end of it, like they had a running part, and he knew how to run the machine by himself, which
That's
is good. Um, and then the one that I did in Maryland, these were both in Maryland actually, was a 5-axis. His first Fanuc control, I think it was his first Fanuc control, first 5-axis, going from like 3-axis verticals, switching from feature cam to fusion, and cam
nice,
plate.
nice.
And
Yeah.
so I programmed the part. We went through programming a part, set him up with like the container method type of stuff so that
Oh, cool.
he had like a nice template and everything to go off of.
Yeah.
Um, and then got the part running, went through everything on the machine, how to set it up, how to touch off tools, yada, yada. Um, and that was a week. We cut the part. The second part he did on his own was this super tall, thin part that was tabbed off, did it all on his own. And it's like,
All
that
right.
is cool. That's sick.
Oh, freaking
That's like,
cool.
we've did it, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, freaking
Um,
cool.
but it's like, but that's not happening if it's like, well, these are the features, because there are some cool features of a control that just don't matter, not right away.
Yeah.
And I think people get really blinded by like, and people can hone in on this however they feel like, but it's like, there's cool shit that is useful. But the very first thing, and I say this to everybody is like, your mission with this machine and everybody's mission with the machine almost always is like, you need this thing to make you money, right? So like, let's get you there first
Yeah.
and making money, then we can plus it up, baby.
Optimize,
And there's
optimize.
always time, and like you can call me. You don't have to pay me to come out. Like, we can work through some shit. But
It's cool.
it's like, let's get you making money, establish our baseline, and then go from there.
Yeah.
Because that's like, my goal is to make money. You're buying the machine to make money. Let's make some money, baby.
Yeah. The idea of just getting started with a project makes total sense. When I was at
Yeah.
Autodesk teaching Fusion, I would often tell people the same thing. Like, let's start with a project, not the last project that super kicked your ass, right? Let's just start with a project, and then build up to
Yeah.
the ass kicker parts. I taught myself
Right.
Mesa Troll back in the day. Um,
Hmm.
it's not that straightforward, and I read manual after manual after manual after manual, and then like finally when I was like, time to just go make a part, it was 1,000 times. This is like my first couple years of being a machinist, but it was 1,000 times
Right.
easier to be like, oh, I have this part that I have to make. What's the least amount of shit I have to
Right.
learn to make this part? And then it was like, oh, now I have confidence. Confidence builds confidence.
Hmm.
So it's just that,
Yeah.
like stepping stone after stepping
Right.
stone, right? Um,
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, well, I'm just learning this software. Like, how do I build a rocket ship that's going to take me to the moon? It's like, what?
that is,
The weirdest thing is when, huh?
I was gonna say, being when I was part of Fusion, and
Yeah,
especially Fusion, I started Fusion early. It was this very much a maturing tool that like was pretty rough originally.
yeah,
And often
right,
people are like, "Hey, I want to learn Fusion. Here's the part that I could not make in Mastercam. Can we start with this?" I'm like,
yeah,
it's probably not the best
yeah,
start. Yeah.
yeah. It's like,
What
how
were you gonna
about we
say?
relax a little bit?
Yeah, yeah. What were you?
Um, I don't know. I
All
lost
right,
the
all right.
thread.
Yeah.
It wasn't that
Uh,
important. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I think about my years. So, I left working for myself, which really just meant we're working for a bunch of different shops. Um,
yeah.
I left, I had a baby,
Mhm.
and I was probably a couple, I don't know, several years of having a kid where I used to be able to work, just I was in the flow. I'd work till 3 a.m. and then crash until, 10, 11 a.m. and then get up and do it again. And I remember trying to think through like, man, I need a more stable life. I was putting my daughter to bed, waking, getting up, working till whatever time. So it was this really kind of weird schedule. And I remember just feeling anxious, and feeling like I needed stability. So I got out of doing contract type work. Really out
Yeah.
of the anxiety that came around it. So I wanted to, like, how does that work with you? It was the
Um,
anxiety and
well,
stability and, like, predictability. It was, like, probably those 3 things.
yeah. This is something that Dylan and I have we've talked a lot about on Within Tolerance actually is that this is easily one of the most stressful things I've ever done.
Yeah.
Especially like recently, I had, I don't know, um, pretty close to like six, I'll just say close to like six figures in accounts receivable and like much, much less cash than that,
Yeah.
and people like aren't paying and you're like, Jesus, oh my God, like what is going on? And like your whole buffer is gone because everybody's just hanging you out so far. And it's like, what is happening right now?
I asked you about this at IMTS, and at the time, you made me feel like
Yep.
you had it pretty dialed in. So, you're like,
Well, things were doing all right. I mean, at that point, but then, I mean, after things kind of crashed out after IMTS,
okay.
like November wasn't super great and December wasn't very great.
Mhm.
Not like business wise, it was fine. It was just like a lot of personal garbage that kind of like really overtook my life a little bit for a couple months there, which is like that's a very stressful thing. It does somewhat help that I'm like single and have no kids. So there's a thing there, but like the stress of the job is what kind of informs the relationship, so to speak,
Yeah.
or relationships, so to speak, and how those kind of like crash out very quickly because it's hard thing. It's very easy to be like, yeah, I can deal with you being gone a lot when you're right in front of somebody, and then you leave, and then they're like, hey, what the fuck's going
We're
on here,
kind of
man? It's like
sucks.
I'm gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I don't like this. Like,
Yeah.
well, I mean, I don't know, like,
Yeah.
and
The
then I
contrast there
this
between
this
my
the
Yeah, sorry to cut you off. The contrast there between my
yeah,
experience, I was basically Northern California, so I was home most
yeah,
nights. If I was gone, it was a couple nights
yeah,
there.
yeah. So, like, for me, in terms of like getting stability, like, at the end of last year slash early this year, I bought a VF4 SS. It's in Boise right now.
Oh, well, that's
Um, I have an apartment in Boise.
cool.
I moved out of my house in Massachusetts.
Oh,
So I like still own it. It's still my house, and like I like have an air mat. I blow up an air mattress in the living room
oh,
when I go there to crash. But for the most part, like the every room is filled. It's fully rented. I don't I wasn't there enough. It basically is just there right now. That's where I keep my car, one of my cars. My brother lives there and a couple actually the customer that I'm at right now, they have a facility in Massachusetts and two of the guys that work there live in the house. um,
okay.
which is funny,
Yeah.
but they're good guys. And so like just trying to like consolidate everything down a little bit and like create a home base around Boise,
Yeah.
uh, and the goal is to travel like 2 weeks, 2 weeks out of the month. And there is a oh man, there I can't talk about it yet, but there's a very like fairly large project which you're kind of aware of, I would say.
Fine.
That is going to pop off and like be like very big, kind of like for the industry, so to speak. That we just got like um they just started moving forward. That's like also no, I can't. I'm not going to say that. It gives away way too much.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's yeah,
I know where you're going with
but
it.
it
Super exciting.
yeah, you know, right?
Yeah,
You know.
I
Yeah, it
am.
is. It's very exciting, and
However,
so like we're probably gonna start. I think it's very fun because it's like between you and me and like the chatter thing. It's gonna be like, and it's like fully from the ground up. It's incredible, and so like
people.
they want us to be very very involved, and so I think that's going to be able to like slot into like they want some on-site time and some remote time, so it's like I'm gunning for like 2 weeks a month. Like let me go there for like 2 weeks a month. We can figure out what's going on,
Yeah.
and then I'll leave and then come back and leave and come back, and we can just hone and dial in and everything. And it's gonna be huge. Like not only for me, but like legit, I think for you guys, especially like too, and the industry overall, it's gonna be insane.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
super pumped.
I agree. Like Al, our CEO at Toolpath, is always talking about, it's the people, many people that talk about their affection for Toolpath. It's about the people. And I mean, my titles, customer something. So I
Yeah.
appreciate the people, and that's kind of what I was gonna say. What you're talking about is like
Hmm.
smart people, a bunch of smart people coming together to do rad shit.
Yeah. It's gonna be very sick.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
so pumped.
yeah. I'm excited to hear that that's moving forward with you. That's great. I think so.
Yeah.
Having transitioned from
They.
different things for me, I think that'll be great for you to get that
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
predictability
They
is
do.
where anxiety for me kind of
Yeah.
gets resolved, right?
It is, it's good, and, like, another piece of that too, like, just on a is I've been really trying to, like, hone in on my nutrition a little bit because 'cause I've been it's so easy when it's like, "Well, I'm on the road, so I'm gonna eat like an asshole,"
Yeah.
but it's like, I'm on the road, like, 90% of the time, so I start eating like an asshole
Yeah,
every day,
oh,
and
sorry, yeah.
it's like, "Oh my god."
Well,
And so I saw something on Reddit about a guy using like ChatGPT to track his nutrition and get
mhm,
him health. I was like, I'll check that out. And so I that's what I've been doing. I've been using ChatGPT, and like it's not like the best,
yeah.
like sometimes it's wrong, but it's like I can snap a picture of something and be like, this is what I ate. And it's like, okay, this is what that is,
No,
boom. And yeah, it's pretty good. And so, like, having, like, essentially just tracking stuff, it's like, "Oh my god, the garbage that I'm putting in my body," and, like, it's a couple weeks in now,
yeah.
and the first week last week was rough, really rough, and the transition period from eating, like, total garbage to, like, trying to eat, like, somewhat clean, my body was like, "What are you doing, man?"
Well,
Like,
I can
"This
understand.
is no good." Yeah. I remember, like, there was one day I was like, "Oh," I was texting Dylan, I was like, "Fuck, I feel like total garbage," and he's like, "Yeah, you're not eating nearly as many calories as you were before. Of course you feel like shit." It's like, "Yeah,
Uh,
you're right, that's all it is." I'm like, "Oh, I got a headache." It's like,
yeah.
yeah, you cut basically, like, 100% of the sugar I was eating out of my diet, like, so
I
my body's like, "Why? Why did you do this?"
I have a pretty bad sweet tooth, and
It's
I'll get injured, and then my eating habits go to shit. I'll travel, like you were saying. I've got
yeah,
probably not on the road as much as you are, but when I was at Autodesk, I was traveling a ton, and it's just so easy to like grab that big thing of ice cream on the way up to your room, And,
oh,
uh,
dude, yes,
yeah, right. The freaking pantry
yeah.
at the Hilton or the Marriott or whatever. It's really easy to just grab
Yeah,
a pint or whatever
it
the thing of
it
ice cream is.
dude,
Um,
yep,
for
some
me, I have a pretty
dibs.
big weight swing, and the thing that does it for me is just like track, committing to something, track.
Yeah,
So I'm glad to hear that.
yeah,
I
yeah,
definitely feel
I
better
feel a lot
as
better.
I definitely feel better as I'm, have it in check. Um,
Yeah,
somebody, Phil from up in Reno, Hamilton, saw my LinkedIn text and, said to say hi to Chris.
nice.
So there,
Yeah, I was just talking to him this morning.
good. Uh,
Yeah,
Okay, so try to have some order to this thing. So I had a list of things to talk about. Contract programming, I think we talked about that quite a bit.
Yeah.
You know what? I do want to tie to I want to talk about Toolpath a bit. And so two things
Mhm.
I was thinking about coming into this conversation was like you and I have a fairly unique perspective of like I don't run into a lot of people that have done, we basically very
Right.
similar type of stuff. I don't run into a bunch of people that have done that. I used to be pretty disappointed that I had basically a bottomless pit of work to do. Um, I always
Right.
I always
Yeah.
felt like, why do the shops need me here? And I've never claimed to be some super machinist, but I was you said earlier, I was super crazy passionate. I was super
Yeah.
tenacious. Uh, and I will give myself credit. I'm pretty like, problem solver, fixer kind of person. But I think the like the bigger question is like, why is there a need? Why is I made I made more money than I've ever made in my whole life, still to date, from 2008 to 2010 or something, when the economy, in theory, was at its worst in my life. Um,
Right.
and it was really the dynamic there was a lot of people were laying people off, like they're good people, and then they would get a big job,
Mhm.
hard, and so there was a lot of opportunities for me. It almost sounds like there's like an awkward, odd parallel between your time during COVID too, right? Uh,
Right. Yeah.
I think,
The thing that I would um if I can,
yeah, yeah.
like, the thing that I see a lot is, um there's like there's like levels to it, right?
Mhm.
Which is there are some places that have no system whatsoever, you know? Like there's no tool library, like there's no fixture library. They're just like they're using like cheap tools or whatever, like there's just nothing.
Yeah.
And so and they like there's shops that they've they've just been grinding and grinding and grinding to get to a certain point, and like they've totally like maxed out their ability to go further, and they're toast, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they don't know where to go from there. So that's where like you or I come in. It's like, hey, you know what the fuck you're doing, please, what can we do here? I have like a good example of that with the company down in Arizona. They're making a like the program itself was like fine. It was okay. It's just that they were doing these parts. They needed to make a lot of them. They were doing uh, uh, two at a time in vices, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And we designed fixtures. We like took essentially their same program, upgraded some of the tools, not all the tools. I think recently we just went through and did all the tools, and went from them doing two parts a day, like two parts at a time to open the door, two parts, open the door to like a maximum amount per day of like 48 parts to like now we can, if they're crushing, they can get 84 parts a day opening the door 7 times instead of like to do that they would have to open the
Ton.
door whatever that 42 times,
Yeah.
and that's huge. And they're like that's another one where like that's a pumpkin playing customer because like they were just there was like nothing they like there were things that we found were wrong based on things that like we definitely fucked up and they definitely fucked up, but it was uh, where I don't like about certain customers is like in that situation, not being able to like I'll take accountability for shit that I fuck up all day, right? I have no problem with that whatsoever. Like, yes, like we could have like we ended up making these steel inserts that were hardened to help like with the thread stripping out because like somehow like they were cranking these things so hard they ripped out the threads and then they ripped out the helicoils too. And it was like, what is going on here? And what we found and, like, there was just nothing that was keeping the parts from throwing, and I wasn't there. But what we found was, like, they weren't controlling the diameter of the part well
Mhm.
enough
Mhm.
upstream. So
Yeah.
we would get these parts that were crazy undersized,
Yeah.
and they would clamp, quote unquote, "clamp," enough that you couldn't rip them out by hand, but as soon as the tool touched it, that thing was flying, you know?
Basically, between 2 points.
And it's
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and it was just gone, and it's like and they're just like, "Doesn't matter. You your fault." Like, "Okay, cool. Sick." But that being
I
said, like,
similar.
once we fi
Similar.
what yeah, yeah. Once we figured all this shit out, like, the thing just they're making double the parts that they've ever made, right?
Good.
Like,
Good.
they could do it again, and so but, like, so that being said, like, these guys, they had nothing. They had like, they've completely maxed out, and then we just took it to the next level, and then now we're gone.
Yeah.
Whatever. Then you have guys where they've they have no system in a different way, which is it's like their whole thing is based around heroic leadership, meaning they had like one guy or two guys or a handful of guys that were
Right.
like very, very good, keeping the wheels on. And then one by one, they all left. And then the wheels totally fell off. And now nobody knows how to do anything all of a sudden. And they're like, oh man, we used to be able to do all this and all that, and then this guy left and that guy left, and now it's nothing. And we have systems, and it's like you had a guy
Yeah. God.
who was
Gotta go.
doing things in his head, and now
Yeah.
he's gone. So now here we are, and then those can be very hard because you have to like build a system from scratch, like midstream of a company that's been in business sometimes for like 20, 30, 40 years. And
Yeah.
like, well, we don't want to do that. And it's like, well, you either do it or you die. I don't know what to tell you. Um,
Yeah.
and
I
those are fascinating customers.
So that jars two memories I want to tell a quick story about. So, yeah, what my time right
Yeah.
after the economy fell apart, in 2008, I was so freaking busy, and it was often like the hot shot, they basically got laid off or even got a job somewhere else. So I would come
Right.
in to help people, and I was used to being the hot shot guy that would come in and do some rad fixture and give them a bunch of parts per cycle and all that kind of stuff. And then I went to somebody who's kind of become a mentor of mine. I don't need to say who it is, but it was a shop in Sacramento that makes hot rod parts. And I was doing a bunch of work for
Mhm.
him and very successful, super smart, big Mazak shop. And I was like, I can change your world. He's got a couple of integrexes and
Oh,
um
you fucked up.
oh, that
Yeah.
it was the perfect part. It was for the parts that he made, it was great.
Okay.
But he was
Yeah.
programming Mazotrols with no, he was programming integrexes with Mazotrol. And I remember they would shut down this robot loaded Integrex because not shut it down, but the guy wouldn't keep the robot filled because the guy was over
Mhm.
deburring these parts with the Scotch Brite wheel. And I like would
Yeah.
lose my mind. I'm like, I can use a decent cam software and make these parts come off looking like jewelry. Let me change your life.
Right.
And he was like, let's go for a walk. And he puts his arm around me and we go over to the shipping bay. And it was great money for me. I loved working with him and his team. And he points out the shipping bay and there's a UPS tractor trailer, that was backed up to his shipping bay. And he's like,
Mhm.
they drop that thing off every Tuesday, and we fill it up, and they pick it up every single Thursday. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, my point is, you're super smart. I have no idea. I have no doubt that you could just change everything in our whole shop, make it, much
Mhm.
better. But it'll be dependent on you. Um, and he's
Right.
like, you're going to be gone sometime soon. You're going to find some other cool opportunity that's shinier than my ball. Um,
Mhm.
and you're gonna left me with my wiener in my hand is what he said. Not exactly what he said.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh crap, it's a really interesting perspective. And that made me start thinking about like a balance of things, right? Where I was in that, I was a younger machinist, was pretty proud, pretty stoked about all the cool
Mhm.
shit I was doing. And I remember thinking like, I can make people's life so good and so awesome. And then that made me start
Yeah.
appreciating like a repeatable process that people can be taught, right?
It's the thing that matters the most is a repeatable process. Like anytime I'm like looking,
Still.
none of the parts on this desk I can actually show. I don't know. I don't know what I can show. I'm like wanting to grab
Yeah.
something, but like here,
Don't
like
mark anything for
this
me.
right here
Yeah,
is
pause.
like somebody.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, is this. It's just a stamp.
Yeah, it looks like
It's not a
it's a
part,
stamp. No, it's
but
right.
it's like
Is that a
it's
name?
like
Yeah.
yeah. No, I just know that I can grab this and
Yeah.
show it. Is it's like, "Oh, man, guess how fast I made this part," you know? And you're like, I don't know, like 15 minutes." And they're like, 10 minutes." And it's like, "Cool.
Great.
Why is your machine not running?" And they're like, "I broke all my tools."
Work.
And you're like, "Who cares, dude?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
all that time, and you've been down for 24 hours. Think about that. You go slower, and it just runs and runs and runs and runs. And like obviously that's a bit insane. Like of a like I've only seen that happen a couple times, but I the same company down in Arizona actually they they put a robot in um, and they had a insane chip issue with with on a lathe, and they had an insane chip issue on the part. So we had to slow the cycle time down. We had to like effectively double the cycle time to get the chip issues to go away.
Yeah.
At least like the easy way. And they've been working on it, but we were able to get the robot to run. And so it ran all day, all night. And even though we had half the cycle time, they were able to get more than twice the amount of like 30% more parts per day or 60% more parts per day or whatever it was because it just ran.
Worked and worked and
But
it just worked and
yeah,
worked and
but
worked, right?
again, yeah, when you work with certain guys, they're like, "Oh, well, we don't like the cycle time." And it's like, "But you're making more parts per day." It's like, "But we don't like the cycle time." It's like,
Drill
"But
down.
you're making more parts
Yeah.
per day."
That's one of the
Um,
things I learned at
and
Autodesk was to understand where people are coming from, like where they put their WCS. If you ask 3, 4
yeah,
questions, you can be like, "Oh, since you learned how to program G code and you just can't think outside of that place you started," right?
right.
So
Yep,
you had
yep, yep.
a
Oh,
dude
that's
and a machine and a vise, cycle time was like, cycle times, it's just,
yeah,
um,
yep,
and they just can't get out of that, right? There's a
yeah,
pretty famous Willleman. It's kind of like the Willleman that
mhm,
started a lot of our friends Willemans.
yeah,
That a buddy of mine bought, and it went back east to make gun parts. And the owner was pretty like infamous for like micromanaging, his programmers' programs. And he was like,
mhm,
if he would look in the machine. If you did that, did this, it would save 3 seconds. And this Willman for several months just like made beautiful parts, just beautiful parts, beautiful parts.
mhm,
And then the owner talked the programmer into doing some stuff and it just crashed it. And that machine has never been the same.
mm,
Like never
yeah.
been the same. I ended up selling to actually fix it. You got to fix properly. But,
Yeah. It's a I think I think this kind of dovetails into a lot of things, well, like Toolpath or whatever and what we do. I want to say like to piggyback off of what you said, this place that I'm at right now was like a pivot in my mentality and how I do projects cuz I had the exact same thing. It's like, "Oh, I can change all this stuff and we can make it better." And it's like, cool. It is like, cool. We can make it better. We have 11 machines and like 20 operators we now need to show how to do this. So why, you know? And it is like, yeah, why? Why would we do that? So it's like you can save like in one case, like legit, we're talking about saving like 2 hours
yeah,
on a cycle time by batching things a certain way. But it's just not worth it because the amount of downtime from somebody being able to like recover and the difficulty of recovering just isn't worth it. Just keep as much the same as we possibly can. And so like I did a project like now when I do stuff, it's like I'm going to use as much of what you already have as possible, like your program, if you have it, your program, your tools, whatever, and we're just going to kind of like reconfigure how things go, because it's what you're familiar with, it's what you already know, and try and get the people who did the work and are working with it already as involved as possible, you know.
Yeah.
And so like now transitioning that to what you guys are doing is you're not trying to like redefine how somebody does what they are doing already. You're creating a tool that helps them become more efficient. Like, you have your tool library, hopefully. Um, and we're not gonna like the most that you're going to ask somebody to do of their tool library is name shit a certain way, but you provide a tool to rename that shit a certain way.
Yeah.
So it's not like, I'm not going to change speeds and feeds. We're just going to need to like rejigger what you already have. Um, and it's like, we're just making little things. Your templates are your templates. You still have those. Those aren't going anywhere. Like, everything is the same. It's just we're just plussing you up a little bit, you know?
That's the intent. And that's what got me excited about coming to Toolpath. I'm not trying to make this a Toolpath commercial, but when I was at Autodesk, part of my job was like evaluating technology and talking to Andy and Justin. I remember they were like, got to respect the complexity of the problem. And you have to understand that like everybody's shop is a snowflake and we need to help people be more of who they are. Right. That's probably my own words.
Toolpath.
That's what I take out of it.
Yeah.
Right. What were you saying?
Right. I just that you guys are the only ones that actually respect the problem for what it is. Having been around this type of shit for like 10 years, everybody's like, easy, no problem. And it's like, okay, okay, sure. You
All
just my favorite thing is you just don't get it. It's like, really? Okay, cool. Yeah, you're right. Whatever.
one of my
um,
favorite people is Carl Bass, and it's gonna sound like I'm throwing shade at him, but
oh
early,
shit.
or I mean,
Yeah.
it's gonna sound so. Anybody stick with me? Early in my days at Autodesk, I was in his shop late one night, and he said, "I'm Carl. When he's being provocative, he's doing it on purpose, right?" But he was like, "Tim,
Hmm.
it's just algorithms," and I remember feeling like offended, and having a hard time containing myself.
Yeah.
And he's like, "But it is." And I was like, "Yeah, but you're belittling the problem." He's like, "That's I'm not belittling the problem, but," he's like, if you think through it, it's just a series of algorithms." I'm like, "No, there's so many inputs." He's like, "I'm not saying it's an easy algorithm, but it kind of is
Yeah.
an algorithm." And
Right.
I was honestly left like frustrated and I've later realized he was a poker, right? He was good at like poking people and with
Right.
negative questions. And for anybody that doesn't know, Carl Bass was the CEO of Autodesk for a long time. He's the person that
Mhm.
decided to get Autodesk into manufacturing. Has been a nice mentor to several of us. But it was until I don't know, several months ago that I was like reflected on that conversation. It was like, yeah, it's kind of just a series of algorithms. Some we can capture easily, some we can't. And
Right.
that's one of the things that I hope to do with Toolpath is to kind of incrementally improve people's lives. There's things that computers do really well, way more consistent and predictable
Mhm.
than I do, right? Think about some of
Right.
the biggest the biggest problems I've ever seen in a machine shop were from a simple task done wrong, right? uh,
Mhm.
in programming. I got some heights wrong. Well, it wasn't the person picked the wrong height on purpose. It's just he screwed up because he had 1,200
Yeah.
heights. He had 1,200 height selections that day or whatever, right? Um,
Yeah.
so I think at the most simple level, that's the kind of things AI can help people with is like just do things smartly the way I would want to do them. And then from there,
Mhm.
I mean, literally, we can take it to the end of the earth. Uh, But I think the fun thing for me and why I got excited about Toolpath was we can add shit tons of value just little by little by little by little by little. I think that
Right.
the acquisition with Chatter kind of, tells a bigger, fuller part of that story. I think going from estimating to Toolpaths, did you see that I machined my first 100%
I did.
I mean, it's a simple part, right? But um, I kind of held the line. Like, I'm not going to start bragging about like programming my machine with Toolpath until I can go do the freaking
You program your machine with Toolpath. Yeah.
thing reasonable,
Yeah.
right? Um, so that was a like a workshop part that I did at Autodesk all the time. And
Yeah.
there's some good lessons there. It is just a prismatic part, but there was a good example of our kind of like where do you draw a line to optimize and push things. There was like two things was like, I would do a 2D contour here instead of a bore operation, but I'm just gonna run it because it's done. Like I had more mouse clicks in post
Right.
I had more mouse clicks in posting it than I had doing everything else.
Yeah.
So it's fun to see us make that progress. I think we'll continue to push it. I think we'll start, connecting everything together. I I think about Toolpath when I was thinking about our conversation we were going to have was, you know, it still kind of baffles me, and it does baffle me. But when I was doing contract work, I was just always like, man, there is I just I could take anywhere from shitty jobs to great jobs, just nonstop.
Mhm.
Why isn't there more of me? Like I've always been kind of hard on myself.
Right.
Like I don't give myself enough credit for how smart I am, but um and then you get to the shop and you were mentioning it earlier, right? There's those two guys that are just doing heroics because they're the two passionate people that still have the tenacity to figure it out and they're solving all the shop problems. Unfortunately, those people are getting more and more and more and more rare. So now it's almost a bidding war for
Right.
shops. So it's not uncommon for those top guys to become transient, right? Almost kind of transient because they're just
Yep.
facing very often very significant pay bumps by moving positions, right?
Right. Right.
So that actually dovetails into Andrew's question. I'm going to try to weave it all together, tie it all together, right? And,
Nice. Yeah.
um, I see Toolpath. I mean, just kind of my vision for Toolpath is to make those people grossly more productive. So
Mhm.
now, my dream was to just teach people how to be be more awesome machinists when I was
Yeah.
up. And but it was like
Right.
always like, don't fuck with me. I'm focusing on this job. So often, like the people you want training, the people that have the interest to learn, they're just so
Mhm.
overworked, right? So my hope with Toolpath is that we kind of
Yeah.
from that bandwidth to like, grow the industry and all that. Um,
Right.
and then start teaching them how to actually solve problems, not just pick, like all the weird check boxes and shit in CAM that you have to learn how to pick just because you have to pick them.
Mhm.
Tying that into Andrew's question. So let's get to some of the questions. Andrew, and now here's the deal. I assume it's Andrew. It's from the Utah Tech Fab Lab on Instagram. Uh, I
Okay.
I believe that's Andrew. There.
Alright.
I've had some chats with them before. They're looking at using looking at leveraging Toolpath in their program. They're
Mm.
specifically teaching people how to be, mechanical engineers, manufacturing engineers. And
Right.
let's see, his questions were, I think, in line with what we're talking about. How can we, a university, train engineering students who probably won't be machinists to wisely navigate this new world? What experience might they need to make wise decisions as future engineering managers, manufacturing engineers, and whatnot? Um, what triggered that I wrote down was like solve problems, learn how to solve problems, learn how to think about
Right.
more like global problem, right? If you look at this one part, I could have made this a lot better, but I also just threw it on the
Right.
spoon and made it. Uh,
Yeah.
I would love.
The,
I'll make a statement real quick. I would love, and I've been saying this
yeah.
a long time, but I would love universities, vocational programs to start leveraging modern tools to take the picks and clicks,
Mhm.
like remove the picks and clicks training and start teaching, young people how to be like problem solvers. Also teach them how to be like insatiable learners, right? Like
Right. That's a hard one.
it's a hard one.
um,
It's a hard one.
yeah.
That actually it almost contradicts what like no, it almost is aligned with what you were saying earlier. It's like most programs have a small handful of young people that are even any shop employee, right? There's a small handful of people that are the golden ones, right? They're the ones that have the drive,
Hmm.
have the interest, have the natural acuity. So, uh,
Yeah.
I think the question there, so I'll just reiterate, is yeah, basically, how do they train engineering students? I think we can also say the same thing about machinists, right? Who, but
Hmm.
example, who probably won't be machinists. What experience might they need to make wise decisions for future engineering managers? What are your thoughts on that?
Um, I guess like the thing that I've been kind of hammering a lot recently is like respecting the mission, you know?
Mhm,
Um,
mhm,
which is like a very broad way of saying like don't get lost in the weeds.
mhm.
Cuz like every problem is like very very large and man, this is I'm gonna go off on a rant probably, but like
Mhm.
it's like the whole triage approach to solving problems, which is like is what solves my problem right now versus what solves my problem long term, right? And it depends on what it is that you're doing, obviously, on like the path that you take and like how and what your time frame is, because there are some in some cases, like from a person who's an engineer who's not going to machine, depending on what the field is that they're going into, they might need to like know just a little bit about like DFM,
Yeah,
you know? Like how is like what is the purpose of this thing that I'm designing and how is it going to be and how is it going to be used and thinking about like again thinking about the mission as you go about your goal and like and your task essentially
yeah,
like oh this is a I don't know it's a stamp right like it's going to be injection molded whatever and I need that to be cool or like I have these little ears and I have a bracket, does that bracket need to have a 1/3 true position on it and like a plus or minus 5/10 hole? Like probably not. Like think about like that trying to go for like I mean, a big one really is just utilizing GD&T. That's a huge one. Is like people try and get around GD&T by just like bringing tolerances tighter and tighter and tighter,
yeah,
and it's like this part now becomes so expensive to manufacture. Like, why did we do this?
yeah.
Um, but again, like, uh, what is the mission? Like keeping like like training people to stay on task with like the goal. I'm trying to think of like a good example of this recently without like blowing up anybody's spot.
Yeah.
Is
Yes.
I mean really it's just I mean I was doing some training last year and they wanted to dive into all these like little baby features, and
Mhm.
it's like we're not there yet. We're not there yet.
Yeah,
And they're like, "Oh, we really need to hone in like whatever whatever." And the further along we got and it's like we really just need to start cutting right now. Like we need to cut now. Whatever it takes for us to cut right now
mm,
is what we need to be doing and getting to cutting because everything will be like we will be informed entirely as soon as we start cutting. The mission is to cut. Like the mission is for you to use this, be able to use this machine in a way to make money. And in order for you to do that, you need to cut. So we need to cut right away. And as soon as we started cutting, it's like, oh, you're right. I don't really need to know how to set up a tool group for sister tools that I don't even have, right? Like you don't have it. We're not starting there. So like why are we even talking about this right now? It is such a small topic that I could discuss right now and we can go into like the efficacy and the system around that and blah blah blah, but guess what? We're not doing it. So why? Why are we
yeah,
even talking about it? Like just cut. We just need to cut.
yeah,
Like it's the thing we say on with intolerance, just cut, dude. Like you don't need to litigate everything. I think there's a big thing about like there is a point. This is so hard to convey, but there is a point where like just make a decision, you know? Like you can analyze and analyze and analyze and analyze and analyze, but at a certain point, it's all just theory. And theory is incredible, but you can't like the amount of projects that I've worked on where people try and theory craft their way out to doing as little work as possible. And they spend weeks like, oh, we have to do this and we have to do that. And like, we got to do all this bullshit. And then we start cutting and it's all gone.
Yeah.
We just like wasted a fuckload of time trying to like work out this like perfect solution to something. And it's like it just doesn't matter. Like what is the mission? The mission is to cut parts. The mission is to automatically create toolpaths in 80% of situations. Cool. So like we don't need to think about the 20%. What gets people 80% of the way there? 3-axis roughing. Sick. Nail that shit down to the floor and then move on. Right. And so how does that translate? I don't know how that translates because that's not how a lot of people like not everybody is going to respond to that type of problem solving,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Like that's how I solve problems and that's how I see a lot of people who are successful in this industry solve problems is just by like running at it at a million miles an hour. And I've seen a lot of people analyze and analyze and analyze like, oh, I can't start doing this until I figure this thing out. And like at the end of the day, it's just an excuse to not do anything.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, just do it, man.
I have this interesting knack. So if I go back to like playing football days, like I'd forget a play and my coach would grab me by the helmet and be like, you have one mission. It's to get the ball in the end zone, right? Or one of those defense,
Right.
just tackle the dude with the ball.
Right.
And that was honestly like, it sounds so simple, but it was kind of life changing for me, especially when like I
Right.
started teaching, I did a lot of like I was in racing for a long time. And I used to be like, you have one job, like literally don't worry about your graphics when you can't get around the track, fast.
Hmm.
Um, and if you break it down, like, almost like war, right? Like if you have an overall mission,
Hmm.
everything serves that mission
Yeah.
and you overanalyzing and thinking, just start running, run towards the ball, right? Like
Yeah.
the old
Right.
saying. I used to say often in racing when I'd work with people, it's like, it's the opportunity and reward. Understand what that is, but like the reward of just moving forward is, it's like the term I like to think of or tell myself all the time is like bias towards action, right? Uh,
Hmm. Yes.
uh,
That's a fantastic way to put it.
yeah, some of the crafts people I respect more than, I know a lot of insanely talented machinists, but some of the crafts people I respect the most or just appreciate the most have been some of the like amazingly talented fabricators that I've worked with. And if there's one
Hmm.
commonality with a fabricator is like just get shit done. Just
Right.
just just
Right.
move towards that goal. Like, and yeah, you'll make
Yeah.
mistakes here and there, but the time it took you to fix a mistake, make a mistake, fix a mistake, and move past it is often, you know, way makes up for the paralysis by analysis kind of thing.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think
Perfection is the enemy of success, baby.
all the good sayings, right? So,
Yeah.
and what experience? So Andrew asked a little bit about experience. Like I always tell people, like educators need to be looking for more opportunities for young people to be making things. For every
Hmm.
one project, how many problems do they have to solve? How many problems do they have to work through? If they
Hmm.
had to make something, they had a mission they had to go accomplish, right? Um,
Right.
so I think that's good for Andrew. Andrew, thanks for chiming in on that. Uh, what other questions do we have? Um, uh, all right, Carol gave me a softball. Carol's my girlfriend. But it is
Yeah.
one. What's the most interesting project you've worked on, Chris? Like most interesting. What pops in your head, right?
Mm,
I'll go first.
uh,
I'll go
yeah,
first.
you go
This
first
this
because
little
like,
guy is like one of the more simple parts I've made in a long time. For anybody just
Yeah.
listening, it's the first part I made 100% with Toolpath. I actually have this parts shelf off to my left of a bunch of stuff I'm pretty proud of making. Um, but I just, as I asked you, I looked down, I'm like, you know what? Actually, that's probably one of the coolest projects I've worked on. Because to
Mhm.
me, this part, it's a simple prismatic part, but it represents like, everything Justin and Andy's been working on, everything me and my team's been working on for several months. And it's getting to a point where like I think we can make a real impact on the industry. Beyond that, I made lots of rad shit. I made a lot of consumer good parts where I designed some pretty cool projects. Made some really fun demos. I still see this isn't the coolest part I've ever made, but I still see
Oh, nice.
Mr. Matsuro, wear this cool Matsuro belt
Rocking that
buckle.
bad boy.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
got some fun projects that are probably have more like personal meaning to me than the complexity of them.
Right.
What pops in your head?
Yeah. From like a cutting part standpoint, like I have this like part that I did that
Okay.
I tattooed on my arm
Yeah.
that I have like it was one of like the it was a very fun one. It was on a MAM, one of the first projects we did. Like just kind of straight. We did contract programming. It was up in Oregon. And part was crazy. We like just kind of crushed it, Especially it was at a time where I was like crazy broke. I had like no money. So like
Yeah.
getting that done, like and that we finished and they handed me a check and it was like
Uh,
sick. That was
oh,
very cool. And so that just from like a making a part standpoint is one obviously I think about it a lot. Like it means a lot to me because I tattooed it on my body.
yeah.
Um, but I tattooed a lot of things on my body. But uh the there's a couple that like working with the solar tools guy. That started with a mini mill in his garage, and now
Oh,
he has the mini mill in his garage. Um, where and that like and a VF2 SS with the VBX 160 on it, and he's cranking. He's got parts in on the Home Depot website, that I've helped him
well,
with, and shit like that. Yeah, it's very slick.
yeah.
Um, the knife guy is a big one for me, just because he's a cool dude, and it's there's hardly any. I mean, like yeah, I think about some of them, and it's like helping the guys that don't know anything are probably the most fun and the most rewarding, you know?
I'm on the same page there. That's something
Yeah.
I taught a lot of machinists how to be machinists from close to nothing before my time at Autodesk. But that was probably one of the most rewarding things at Autodesk was
Right.
I can't even tell you how many people I just started from scratch. And then now, we have friends that are just killing it. And I remember like I barely knew anything 10 years ago. And I mean, it's
Mhm.
been super fun. It's been super fun. Let's
Yeah.
go over to Al real quick. So Al, he has a bunch of questions, which is great.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll ask and then I'll answer real quick and then I'll hear from you. So, why did you become a machinist? Are you glad you did? Is it the career you expected? What were your best and worst surprises? So I'll answer that real quick. So, I can
Mhm.
actually like drill down to the day that I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna be a machinist. And I realized actually when I was on the Within Tolerance podcast that Dylan said it. He's like, not a lot of people know like the day that they decided, their life changed, or the day that they decided. I can tell you like those.
Yeah.
For me, I used to race mountain bikes, and then I ended up being a World Cup mountain bike mechanic. And I was down at a bike company talking to Intense Bicycles. It was a pretty rad company. It still is a rad company, but at the time it was like super innovative. And I was going down to talk to the owner, and he was busy, so I wandered out in the shop. And I walked up to this old Haas EC400, probably the worst Haas ever made. The old one. The new one, I
Oh,
think
wow.
is
Yeah.
the new one
Damn.
is very, very, very respectable. I just saw one cutting today, and it was doing great. So I shouldn't say that, but The old one wasn't great, but I remember looking in the window being like, holy shit, my life just changed. Like I
Mm-hmm.
get goosebumps thinking about it. So that was when I knew it was time to be a machinist. I'm always, I took, several years of metal shop in high school. Nobody ever mentioned that being a machinist or anything in manufacturing was ever a job, job opportunity for me. So I'm more beyond stoked with the path my life has taken. It's been super twisty and windy. Um, to be honest, I'm very happy with where I'm at Toolpath right now, but I think in my soul, I'm probably more meant to be a machinist than whatever job I'm doing
Mm-hmm.
now. But
Oh fuck.
I think life
Yeah.
has taken me where I'm at now, and I'm happy with it. It's
Mm-hmm.
the career you expected. Like I can't even express how on paper, on nobody's wildest dreams would have put me where I'm at today, including myself, like even my wildest dreams. So, and what are the best and
Mm-hmm.
worst surprises? I mean, the best surprise is I think I have an impact like I never ever would have dreamed that I've had
Right.
being a machinist. Um, I think the Insta community, like when I was I would say but when I was a machinist, the online community was pretty toxic, and I don't like being around toxic people. So it was like I just kind of
Mm-hmm.
isolated myself to a bubble of machinists, and it's been fun to see the internet community of machinists, like we all call them, Insta machinists, become for the most part, a very positive group that's been just very
Right.
stoked about. So we're surprised. We're surprised. I don't know, man. My early days as a machinist, they were like very much what people dread about being a machinist. I worked in some like just very hardcore job shops, worked 72 hours a week, just
Mm-hmm.
grinding. I had no regrets though. I mean,
Right.
you learn from being in the pressure pot, right? So,
Yeah.
what are some of your
Yeah.
thoughts?
Uh, I guess like I never really, I don't know, I never really considered myself a machinist, so to speak. Like I
Yeah.
just kind of like some guy that makes parts or whatever.
Can
Um,
we pause for a second?
uh,
Is my memory right that
sure.
you yeah, is there a fairly short version of how you got into machining? I thought it was almost straight into apps. Am I wrong?
It pretty much is, yeah. Like I went to college and then I was doing a little bit of like work in I don't even I mean I worked in South Carolina for a little bit
Yeah,
as like a supervisor or whatever.
yeah.
And then I worked at a shop for like 8 months.
Mhm.
And then I went straight into applications. So that's why I was like,
Yeah.
I never really considered myself a machinist, I just
You
make
don't got
parts.
the scars. You didn't pay your dues.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah. So it's like I don't feel like I can like rep that,
Oh, I'm not
Um
taking it away.
the
Machinist is part of the
yeah, all right, all right. The like I got into cutting because like I mean Trion really and like ASU is a Haas Technical Education Center. So I was like, wow, I can like kind of like you. It's like, oh, I can make anything I want. Yeah, sick. Let's do that. Um, and when you kind of realize it's like I mean, there are obviously like physical limitations of like what you can actually achieve like with a CNC machine, but at the same time, you can kind of get very creative about what's like around that. So like one of the projects that we did was we had to create like a can crusher as like one of the classes we took was a controls class,
Oh,
and it was like a PLC thing where we had to create like a can crusher,
yeah.
and a lot of them were like really hacked together, and I just machined the whole thing with like bearings and stuff, and it was smooth as
So
hell,
rad. So rad.
and very cool, and like that was a lot of fun. Um, uh, and that was like it, like really truly like once we had to cut and like we're making stuff, like I was hooked. Like my entire career became
Same.
CNC machining like in some way or another. And I really I enjoyed the application side of things because I uh I do have trouble focusing. So being able to like bounce around and like I go to work over here and work over here. It's like, why work in one shop? I can work in all the shops, you know? Um, it's much more fun that way.
Yeah.
Best surprise is like just how rewarding it is. And like there's nothing more satisfying than being able to like, oh, I just successfully created this part. You're welcome. Bye bye. I'll leave you now. The worst surprise is that it's not like it's not like some jobs where, okay, my day is done. I'm just going to leave and then I'll pick it back up again tomorrow. Like if the part's not done, the part's not done.
Yeah.
Like you need to make the part.
Yeah.
Like the business doesn't run if the part's not done. And sometimes that can be very challenging and like that's very stressful. It's a very like and you just have to like kind of grind it out and like you said, like there's those days where you're like, oh, I'm working at like 1 a.m. trying to get this done and my tool broke. And that was the last one. So what do I do? And you're pivoting and it's so stressful. And like that can also be rewarding in another way, but it's like that is probably the worst surprise is that there is like an objective deliverable that somebody is waiting for,
Yeah.
and without it the wheels don't like the bus doesn't run, you know, like and that sucks sometimes.
Yeah, I would say one of the worst. It's like I don't know. I don't look at a lot of things as like what's the worst. Like I just try not to think that way. But
Yeah.
there was a slap in the face realization when I got into this very quickly. Like I had this romantic view of like, oh, with machining, there's a right way to do things. Like there's the right way. You learn, you go do the right thing, you make I still am
Yeah.
pretty smitten with the idea that, uh, for the most part, with a proper print, like there's a definition for what good enough is. Coming
Hmm.
from racing, like you never have enough time to prep because there's always more you can do to like prep a car or motorcycle or
Hmm.
whatever. And there was something romantic for me to like, no, there's the definition of what done is, right? This is 1 inch
Yeah.
minus something. This is, whatever. Uh, yeah, so I remember feeling like there's just no right answer.
There
So
isn't.
so if
It's
wrong, but it actually plays in my personality like absolutely perfect. So,
yeah.
uh,
Yeah, that's it. You're like, my biggest weakness is how dedicated I am, you know?
oh, yeah,
Yeah. All right, relax.
yeah,
But I have definitely talked to people where they're like, "Well, I'm making parts in print." And it's like, "Okay." And it's like, "But I want them to be better." And it's like, "Why?" It's like, "'Cause I think it can be better." It's like,
well,
"But
there,
you hit your tolerance. What like just run the parts. Like, but it should be more perfect. It's like you want your good parts to be more good. The customer doesn't give a fuck.
mile
Like if they're in print, they're in print, baby. Like they gave you that for a reason.
two,
If the parts that you make that are in print aren't good, that's their fault.
yeah.
Like
2 realizations I had in my career. I hope some Instagram listeners are listening because I think people flexing on Instagram has sucked out millions of dollars out of our manufacturing industry in profit, right?
yeah.
Trying to make jewelry parts for something that's gonna get dumped in a bin. So I
Hmm.
remember early in my career, old man Frank, one of my mentors, I was bragging about like, I make those things on the money, dead tits, whatever, on the money. And he's like, puts on one of his 12 pairs of readers and he's like, this is plus minus five. Like, you're just wasting money. He's like, Tim, the
Yeah.
only perfect part's the part that meets the print. And he's like, anything more than that,
Right.
you're just chasing your tail, spending money. And then
Yeah.
someone later in my career, I was bragging about some mere finish stuff, and he's like, "That's going to, I'll say the name. That's going to Tritool. It's like this company." And he's like, they're doing with the box of parts that you individually wrapped, right? He's like, they're going to be
Yeah.
pissed that they got to pull them all out of the stupid bags, and they're going to dump
Hmm.
them in a big old metal bin. I was like, "Damn,
Yeah,
well,
that's the solar tool guy.
mhm,
He takes his parts out of the robot and just throws them all into an egg crate, you know?
Yeah.
just piles them on top of each other because it just like they go from there into a tumbler, they get anodized, they get put on a roof.
Yeah.
It just doesn't matter.
That's
It's like he understands the mission.
mhm.
Why bother? It hurts. Like he came over and he like when I was making fixtures, he like laid unistrut on my shit and I was like, get that off of my part. Like this is different. And he's like, oh, sorry, but it's like, but for what he's doing, it's fine. It
Yeah,
just doesn't matter.
totally. What else? I'm gonna throw another Al one out there. So what are you excited about right now? I think you hinted at something you're pretty excited about. We shouldn't talk about right now. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I mean, outside of that, like just kind of like I haven't been selling at all this year pretty much. Um because I just have like a shitload of work that I need to finish up and so there's something kind of satisfying about being in a comfortable enough place to kind of like turn off the tap
yeah,
and just work things out and like every day that I progress I like it essentially is like, oh, I can invoice now, and that means I also have less work and yada yada yada. It's like there's something very satisfying about like driving towards stability and not like grinding myself to dust.
yeah,
Um,
okay,
so like from a more that's for more from like a philosophical standpoint than from a like a project standpoint. Like outside of the one project that we can't really talk about, there's not really a ton that I'm like super jacked about.
yeah,
This one I'm like the one that I'm at right now is good because I'm so familiar. I'm more there's been so much management turnover. I am now more familiar with it than the people that hired me to do the job,
yeah,
which is a very weird position to be in
yeah,
because it's like they just don't know what I did before and what we were trying to accomplish and what I had already had done. And they're like, oh, you're doing X, Y, and Z. And it's like, yeah, yeah. They're like, oh, that's why we paid you a bunch of money. Like, yes, you didn't just pay me so I can hang out, dude. like, um,
yeah.
like I found they're like, oh, we're gonna have to buy all these tool holders and whatever, whatever. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure they're here. And I found like 37 PG25 holders. And they're like, oh, cool. So we don't have to buy like a fuckload of holders
No,
now. Sweet.
that's
Yeah.
awesome. What am I?
Yeah.
What am I excited about right now? So I've got personal stuff. I've got work stuff. I was just reflecting today. I'm not trying to blow smoke up my team's ass, but like when I started at Toolpath 7 months ago, I was super adamant about building this company in a credible way where we're not, lying, trying to trick people into,
Hmm.
overselling what we do. I think I just realized the other day that I think we're probably like underselling, how valuable we can be to customers. So, we
Right.
machined that part and I'm bragging to Paul about it on my team. And he's like, we got a bunch of customers, using, the CAM tools in Toolpath to jumpstart their programming. And so I just remember reflecting on like, well, yeah, we accomplished kind of what I was hoping to accomplish. Like build this out in a
Hmm.
in a credible way where we're adding value to customers and we're not, trying to dupe people into what we're doing. So
Hell yeah.
much that we probably overreacted, to be honest. So with that, I was pretty excited about like, man, Ben on my team, uh,
Hmm.
really finding his stride. Like things are coming out great with our content. Um, yeah, and our whole team is just kind of kicking ass and doing well. Our development team's doing great. So that's all the stuff I'm excited about from a workplace. I'm not throwing stones at Autodesk, but like coming from Autodesk, there was like all these pressures for fake it till you make it, right? And that just never felt
Sure.
good. It's hard to fake machining type stuff, right? So I feel pretty good and proud about that. And then I got a new dirt bike, a new race bike. So I'm pretty excited. Uh,
All right.
After we get off of this, I'm gonna
Cool.
change the tire. The first race on it this weekend, so I'm excited about. Um, all right. I think, oh, you know what? This is something I was at a shop today, Kelly at Precision Machining in Roseville. He was one of my first customers when I was at Autodesk. for
Mhm.
HSM. And I was at his shop today and just seeing how much he freaking grown in the last 10 years. And we were talking about just kind of trends. And one of the trends, so that's what I want to kind of ask you what trends you're seeing where people are just killing it. And I'll share kind of one that I've been kind of seeing is, it's totally self-serving trend being a toolpather is like, I'm seeing people like, coming up with ways to automate their programming and estimating. I don't see it a ton with the programming yet, but the smart people are leveraging templates and, different ways to automate that mundane bullshit that we have to do over and over and over. Whether it's the cleaner
Mhm.
method in Fusion or leveraging Toolpath to kind of get them kickstarted. I haven't seen that honestly, like hyper grow anybody's business, but people leveraging tools like Toolpath and others to like help automate their coding. That's getting people like Kelly, the guy I was seeing today. It's like the leader of the business spending most of his time coding, right? Uh, s-
Yeah.
the shops I see that are crushing it have figured out ways to like kind of automate that process so they can go do other more value added things. But then from like more of a dork machinist kind of thing, one trend that I've seen, and I was just up at Dennis's shop up in Idaho, and he was talking about, they'll run stuff at night. It's kind of like their free time. It's like free money. It's not really, but
Mhm.
and then they use the day to do their more like hard complex stuff. And I've seen a couple
Right.
companies leverage like a Trinity cell and a UMC to do like, repeat work at night and then like the hard higher paying stuff during the day. And I've been seeing a trend of that with job shops. And so I was sharing that with Kelly today. And so kind of the topic is like, what do you see people doing that are just crushing it? Well, let's maybe
Mm,
stick it to job shoppy type places.
I would say, it seems like people are starting to, like, trust automating high mix, low volume work,
Yeah.
like you're talking about.
Yeah.
That seems to be, and like utilizing a palette system to be like understanding that you don't need to have like a bajillion pieces to utilize a palette system effectively.
Yeah.
Like having a palette system is fantastic, obviously. If you have production work, like you can just kind of like really dial in and optimize, um, and like really squeeze like every little bit out of things. But being able to like just like set up a couple pieces here and there, I think like Brian Kippen, right? That's like when you say utilizing a UMC and a Trinity system. I don't know if anybody utilizes it better than he does. Um, to be able to just like crank like as few parts out as possible, or as many parts out as
Many,
possible in
many
as
parts.
little quantity as possible.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, is incredible. And I mean, but like what is unlocking a lot of that is like the people that are able to do that are mostly people that do spend the time to like invest in a system,
Yeah.
right? In templates and tool paths and like or like tool libraries and things of that nature, so that you get to a point of like, oh well, and again, it's just, it's not trying to like, not going for the pursuit of perfection but the pursuit of good enough. Like what is going to make me not a perfect part but a sellable part, because a sellable part is what matters at the end of the day. Perfection does not matter,
Only,
sellable matters.
only perfect part, the
um
part that means it,
and
right? Yeah.
yeah, and I think that, like, the more you go, like, people do, and I think that's, like, an evolution of, like, just about every shop owner and every machinist or whatever is, like, "Oh, I'm gonna my value is that I'm gonna make better parts than the next guy," or whatever. It's like, "Cool, but you, like," um which is fine, like,
Yeah.
but at a certain point, like, it's like, "Oh, every part I need it to look like jewelry. I need it to look like jewelry." Um, but there was a guy, I don't know, like in the like Central Valley that was pretty well known for making jewelry, who's kind of like not around anymore, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and like that's cool. Like, I mean, the parts were sick and they were mirror finished, like you said, and whatever. But it's like, who cares?
Yeah.
Like, did that make you money? No.
If you're getting paid to make jewelry, then make jewelry, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's just like people investing more. I mean, like you pretty much had already answered it. Is just that people are investing in themselves and in the system and understanding that like taking the time to build the system is worthwhile time. The thing that man, I don't know if everybody's quite there yet, but it's like is I try and go like my rule of thumb always is like 80% of optimized as much as I can be, roughly. Like,
Yeah.
but getting a part on the machine. I know Dylan is like this, like just getting the part on the machine as fast as possible because you get it off the machine as fast as possible and into a box as fast as possible and out the door as fast as possible. Um, and yeah, I know like that's where people crush right now.
Yeah, back when I was doing contract work, there was a hyper focus on cycle time, right? But it was more common also
Right.
that there was, shop would buy a machine, a vertical mill, and they would hire a person and put it in front of it. So they'd hire another vertical, buy another vertical,
Mhm.
put another person in front of it. And I think people are realizing, so they'd want to pay the guy to sit there and stare at being making parts for the whole day. So people are realizing like what we already
Right.
about, talked about here.
Yeah.
Just get stuff going, get the machine running, make it reliable. Um,
Right.
and
Yeah, focusing on throughput as opposed to cycle time
yeah,
is a good
yeah,
is a good way to put it.
I the,
Also, I would say like there's a lot of leaniacs out there.
yeah. Yeah, I struggle with that because man, I for sure appreciate me some some leanness. But then I look around and I just feel like shit most of the time, to be honest, because
Yeah.
I just don't meet that standard. Um, but I juggle all the
Mhm.
things and I do my best and get through life. So I think it's probably
Yeah.
time to about wrap it up. Um, let's close with what do we want to close? What should we close with? I'll put that back on you.
I don't know.
Better.
What are there any more I don't know, like how many questions we got
Well,
left?
yeah, let's look at it. Carol, we
Who do you got?
tech, how do we do university world? Al very CEOE. What does success look like in 90 days, or a year from now? I'll answer that. I mean,
Pass.
uh,
Yeah.
well, but
Um,
I got numbers we're trying to grow at like these insane rates, so I'm pretty
right.
focused on those. To me, like doing that in a credible way, that's like a
Mhm.
non-negotiable for me. Luckily, well, I have support from everybody, including Justin, our CTO, and everybody. What about a year from now? Like just more of that. Uh, that's too CEO. Yeah.
Yes.
Uh,
The stability. I mean, for me, it's stability.
yeah.
Like that's just like full stop. One word answer is stability. That's what success looks like in 90 days to a year.
Yeah.
Do
I'll
you get anything
actually,
from Justin?
no, the bastard. Well, let me check. See if anything came in the last couple hours. I'll answer on a personal note. I broke both my ankles and both my Achilles a couple years ago, and
Yeah.
I've been a total mess since then. So, a year from now, like I would like to be able to get up on the balls of my feet, both feet, without a problem. So,
Yeah. All
talk
right.
about how to. Okay, so okay, we got some from the Instagram. James, one of my favorite people. Hard to not,
Right.
hard to not appreciate. So talk about how to embrace and navigate the challenges of keeping skills current. This is a big one for me. How do you get
Hmm.
away from I've always done it like this? Why should I change now? I'm gonna break it down like a very simple thing. It is like it goes back to how I hope educators start thinking about educating, right? used to be like you're in a machining class, like here's how to set your stock, here's how to do this. Um, just going all the way back to educating kids. Uh, Everybody I know was taught how to like, you put your XY, your work coordinate system at the top center of the stock. I'm not really telling why, not telling why they would put it different places. Um, so for me, I've always been like, but why would you put it there instead of somewhere else? Somebody that could actually, touch or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So from an education perspective, I think our whole education system needs to start thinking about teaching kids, like, asking not kids, but young people, like, why would you do it different ways and have like more conversations instead of just trying to like remember things, right? Um, and then as far as like just embracing it, I think that there's a natural tendency that honestly comes from parents. It starts with parenting, teaching your kids to like ask why do I do this? Why do I do that? When you're mentoring young people, mentorship is a big point for me. Like I've taken it pretty serious to mentor other people because people mentored me, right? Instead of just be like, hey, you put the nut in the bolt in the nut. Um, Take a little extra time and explain, like, hey, I do it like this and this is why. Other people I
Mm-hmm.
do it like this and this is why. Other than that, like, how do you, I mean, James, like, I know James and I have talked about this a lot, but like, how do you teach someone to just care more? Um, so I would
True.
encourage everybody, like, kind of the conversations we're having on, our Instagram friends, all, sucking profit out of their jobs so they can show extra jewelry looking, shiny finishes.
Yeah.
Or, um, maybe spend some of that energy thinking about, just how do I program it faster? How do I make it good enough to meet the print and get my throughput higher? Um, and the
Yeah.
big one, here's the big one. I'm gonna throw some stones at like one of my very good friends. Um, I mentored him into being a machinist. And he's scared to just try. Like he's scared to just try the next thing. He's been in shops where he's had opportunities to go learn some gnarly, B-axis mill turn machine, and he just would rather work and be in this comfortable spot. Actually, no, now he's looking for a job, and I'm just thinking to myself, like, if you would have taken that opportunity to learn that new thing, like
Mm-hmm.
your opportunities could be just just limitless, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
I'll leave that with my good friend Joe. It's like never underestimate the power of like misplaced confidence, right? So
Right.
I personally sign up for a lot of shit that I am scared out of my mind to do. I like no, like
Yeah.
I can figure it out. Like I can just figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and even if you have to lie to yourself, like lie to yourself until you believe it. So that's kind of my
Right.
thinking.
Right.
I'm pretty close to being illiterate. I signed up to write these CNC West articles because I knew it was like
Yeah.
something I was scared of, so I just did it. So I would encourage people to just sign up for hard shit and figure out how to do it.
Right. I would say the I would take more of an incremental approach. Like what I try to do um is kind of like the aspect of like getting things running, and then while things are running, or like changing a thing,
Yeah.
like this I know a safe way. I have a safe baseline, and I want to try this thing, so I'm going to establish my safe baseline,
Yeah.
or know that I can what I'm doing is going to allow me to get back to the safe baseline. So I'm just gonna like go a little hog ass with like my roughing this time. I'm gonna try this new, like going both ways or something, like something silly. Like, oh well, it's like it's truly like it's not the right way to do it because I'm climbing and doing conventional as an example.
Mm.
But it's like if it works, then I don't have to pick the tool. Like the tool when it goes back is cutting now instead of non cutting, and so then now if it works, okay, that's a new trick. But taking the approach that a failure, a quote unquote failure, is an answer, you know,
Yeah.
and that everything you do is something that you can put into, like, you can file away as information. That, like, I'm going to try this thing. Did it work? Yes or no? That it not working is still a positive outcome
Yeah.
of the thing that you tried.
Yep.
So that, okay, I filed that away, and like, that should work, but it's not working, and I need to keep going. So I'm going to go back to what I did, and we'll try it again. Maybe this isn't the right scenario for that thing. So I'm just going to file it away as that this is what I tried, didn't work, moving on. And you might, like, you like kind of just, it's the whole poking aspect of it. Like, well, maybe this is where I break through with that. And it's like, closer, not quite there, back it off, like, and you just kind of keep, like, you're always, I try and do this on a lot of projects, which is like, do I think this is going to work? No, but I know the way that will work. So I'm just going to give it a shot. And if it works, then good. And if not, then I can just dial it back, whatever. Especially, like, I mean, in most cases, like with a mill, the worst thing, I mean, not the worst thing, but like, depending on what you're doing, um, and how catastrophic, like, the quote unquote worst thing that can happen is your tool breaks, right? And like, you're out a couple $100 or whatever. And like, are you going to try that on a $10,000 piece of material that you only have one of? No.
Yeah.
But if you have a $5 block of aluminum that there's like a pile of 1,000 of them, and you need to make 100 parts, like, well, let's see if I can get away with this super sketchy thing. Oh, cool, it worked.
Yeah.
Sick. Ship it.
Yeah.
So the
Do what you know. Well,
pursuit is just like,
understand when you have an
yeah,
opportunity to like
yeah.
forward, right? And then
Yeah, and I think there's always an opportunity to, like, just push just a little bit. And maybe you're not like, I don't think it's ever a good idea to, like, to just try something, because you get, like, it's so easy in this industry to get, like, way out ahead of your skis,
yeah,
and you're just like tumbling down a mountain all of a sudden, because it's like, well, I've never done this before, so I'm going to try experimental fixturing, experimental tooling, experimental programming, and we'll see what happens. And it's like, just pick one of those
yeah,
things, maybe, like, and like
yeah,
you don't want to do all this crazy shit all at once, because like,
yeah,
it's really, you need to be able to put yourself in a position, if you're going to try, to be able to dial back to safety. And so it's like, I'm using blue photon, maybe I don't use this like crazy, like, capto stacked work, like, this crazy capto stacked boring bar or whatever, like this tool I've never used before, with these end mills I've never used before, and a cam software I've never used before. Like, don't do that. Like,
something that came up fairly recently for me with a friend was never used Uniforce Mighty Bite clamps before.
mhm,
And he went from never using Uniforce Mighty Bite clamps to spending several days designing and building a fixture to just hold a shit ton of parts. And then he
mm,
realized, like, holy crap, I got to tighten 3,000 screws.
right,
And then
right,
the compromise there was like, first time I used a Uniforce clamp was on this, like, to hold these two parts, right? It was like, oh, I got a little victory. Like, now I feel confident of, or actually, maybe I even had to change the pocket depth or, some dimension. I learned from it. It wasn't a super success, but I learned from it. Felt confident to like do 10 on the next fixture. There's things like that where you just add little incremental lessons and challenges along the way to before you know it, you'll be doing
right.
rad stuff. Um, Tyler Bondy. Do you know Tyler Bondy? I don't
The
just
Mitsui guy
Jewish
now,
guy, yeah, to
right?
be Metzer.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, so, so, so Tyler says, talk about zip tie etiquette. So this is an inside joke. I don't remember. I think he and I talked about zip tie etiquette when we were probably pretty drunk in St. Paul one night. So somehow it came up that savages will cut a zip tie with just a pair of, dikes or diagonal cutters.
Get a zip tie gun. They're like
Well, you
$15.
have zip
Like,
tie
don't be
guns, and
don't
then
be
you
an
have
asshole.
what I call
Yeah.
flush cutters, right? So they're flush on one side. You can get it
Mhm.
from at Harbor Freight for cheap. Without that, with just a pair of dikes, you're making a bunch of little razor blades all over the place. Anybody on
Yeah.
a race car or whatever, there's nothing worse than like reaching in somewhere and
Yes.
getting just feels like you dug through barbed wire with your arm. Andrew had another one from Utah Tech. We answered several of his, but this one's a good one. So, how can we, a university, train engineering students? Probably, no. There was another one that just popped up. Okay, what challenges and successes do you both see in training young machinists to handle the new world of machining, meaning things like AI with Toolpath, increasing complexity of machine tools, and even just new tooling, tool holders, work holding, automation technology, things like that. We kind of covered all that, right? I mean, it's just like,
No,
no,
I don't think
no,
so.
yeah,
So the thing like with that is I don't think that there's an increasing complexity in machine tools. I think it's actually the opposite. I think everything is getting way, way easier. And the actual problem isn't that it's hard. The actual problem is that it's way too easy now. And so it's a really weird thing to say, but the thing you'll run into a lot is like fusion and a Haas makes anyone a hero, which is good. It's very good for the industry. But you have a bunch of people who, when they would like who do well, and then they hit a wall and their brain just blows up because they skipped a shitload of steps that we all had to do and learning like how to like make parts. Where like you see people like, well, it couldn't have been my program. It has to be the machine is bad or shit like that. And you're like, what the fuck are you talking about?
yeah,
It's like, and then you see how you're cutting and it's like, yeah, of course that's not going to work.
yeah. A couple things that pops up for me. So that, yeah, I'm glad you dug into that deeper. So a couple things that pop up for me, that I try to tell young people is like, yeah, absolutely respect the trade. The way that Andy, one of the founders of Toolpath, said it was like, we knew we had to accept the complexity of the problem, right? Um, I really push young people to expand their network. To become friends with, the community is like, we're past the days of people being scared about people taking their jobs. When I got in the industry, it was still a place where people were like, "Man, I don't want to teach you anything because, there's 5 other people that want my job." I think now,
Right.
like there's more jobs than people. So,
Hmm.
build your network, be useful for other people. So they're happy to be useful for you. Right. Um,
Right.
and to me, that tells the story of like, I've been alone at night trying to solve problems and been like, "Oh, I can text my buddy Joe because he will just help me think through this problem." Right. Um,
Hmm.
I think that's a big one. So that's like our local community college had an instructor, Sierra College, Frolins. Shout out to Frolins. He's not there anymore, but he used to work with students about like, it's almost stuff you would learn in couples counseling, like ask a question, actually listen. Make sure you guys
Right.
are on the same
Right.
page. Like, okay, so let me just make sure I get this right, and like repeat it back to them. Um, a lot of that, it's the young machine, and just kind of make sure we hit his points, right? The young machine is new world. I think you did kind of nail that, right? The first time I touched Integrex, like it was after the application engineer plowed the thing. So I was scared of my
Hmm.
freaking mind because there was no good software to run it, right? There was, first time
Right.
I touched a 5-axis machine was the same way. Like now, I mean, I'm not here to pimp Fusion, but Fusion specifically has done a wonderful job getting access, giving people access to like a lot of really powerful tools. Haas has done a really good job of making 5-axis not the scariest thing, scariest thing in our trade. So just don't be scared. Understand, it's a complex trade, and build a network of people that you can trust to talk through and think through problems with. And just go get some shit done.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
And to build on that is like you not understanding something doesn't mean it's the wrong way to do it. I've dealt with that a lot where people just don't understand what we have going on, and they have built up in their mind that if like a certain way, like kind of I know what I know, and so if they don't understand, then that's just not the way to do it, and it's bad or something. It's like no, like understand that there are other ways to do things, and like you might learn something. You can walk into any opportunity and like learn, like go like when you talk about your younger self going into shops and being like, oh, I can change the whole world. It's I can change your whole world. It's uh it's reframing that to, so why do you do this instead of that, or like not even instead of that, just like why, just like you said, like asking the why to hone in on like their thought process of things before you like come out hot and being
Overnailed it.
like, this is dumb and this is bullshit, because you're
Overnailed.
like, oh, that's how a lot like this company in particular got into some like into some very interesting decisions, and why some of the management isn't here right now is because they did like the former COO came in really hot. That's dumb. That's bad. That's slow. Like these guys have been making these parts and making a fuckload of money for years. And then it's just like, well, this is all dumb. And
Common
like in terms of
CR
like what
thing
is
to do. Yeah.
success?
Common CR
Yeah.
thing to do.
And like, yeah, and so it's just like a lack of understanding is like, we've all been there, and like, and in the unfortunate thing is like in most cases people just need to get knocked, like their dick knocked in the dirt before they learn that lesson truly.
I did.
So yeah, we all did, right? We've all fell flat on our face and got slapped around and been like, because we were all, most of the people in our positions, like you owned a business, I own a business, like, and all, like most of the business owners, we have all got our like humbled hard, because we just did not, we like,
Yeah.
and you think back and you're like, oh, that person did actually warn me about this.
Yeah.
I just was too
Yeah.
dumb to listen.
Yeah.
And you think about it, it's like none of us, somebody could be holding up signs as we're doing the wrong thing, and we'd be like, fuck you,
No.
like
Yeah.
I'm just not gonna do it. Yeah. It just like, and that's, and knowing that, and like working with younger guys, and essentially just like being a safety net to the younger guys to be like, yeah, no, is this gonna work? Sure. Like, will this work? I don't know. Like, let's try it. And then it blows up, and it's like, catch them. All right, this is where you went wrong, kind of thing. And you just like facilitate the learning by allowing people to fail.
Yeah. We got a couple more. It seems like they're coming in as we're talking. So this was a fun
Let's
one.
go.
Yeah, this is a funny one. So last night my buddy Aaron was over. He's my racing buddy. We were rebuilding the suspension for his dirt bike. And he kept looking around, trying to understand the noise that he heard. And it basically sounded like somebody was peeing the whole time in the garage. And I have so he
Okay.
had discussed why or how coolant should be aerated. So I have a particular
Okay.
hate for rancid coolant.
Yeah.
I've worked at several shops. Well, I'll say the worst shop that I did work at. Um, I was like, I can't work in this. This is like a biohazard. We can't work here. This is going to be like
Hmm.
skin problems, like fungus problems. Um, the owner invested in like the most high tech coolant situation I've ever seen, central coolant, vacuum systems, all this stuff. And one day I see a dude that was chewing tobacco like into the machine.
Ugh,
And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And the same
that's
dude, so
disgusting.
he got his ass chewed. The same dude, turns out I never saw it, but it turns out when his coffee would get cold, he just dump it in the machine. Nobody what's done. We're
Oh
talking
my god.
half million plus dollar machines, right? Um,
Yeah.
so that all got resolved. But I I don't run my machine very much, so I have a next gen coolant circulator thing and a Javelin thing. So I've got coolant.
Yep.
My coolant always looks brand new. It's wonderful. I
Right.
recommend to other people. I've said for years, coolant's one of the more technical things in the shop. Um,
Yes.
and people should
I
respect the complexity of it and learn more about it. There's lots of resources.
Dude, it's one of the things I think is hilarious when people switch coolants. Like they do that shit to their coolant and then they switch like to anything. And they're like, "Wow, now old coolant was bad and now new coolant is good." And it could be like you have a guy going from like Blazer to Qualchem or Qualchem to Blazer, and both guys will now be like they'll be beefing. I mean, except like all Blazer sucks. I'll die on that hill. But but uh it's like, oh no, Blazer's way better than Qualchem. I had Qualchem and it was the worst. And then the guy's like, I had Blazer and it's the worst, and that guy's right. But it's like oh, Qualchem's the way to go. And it's like, really, it's because both assholes just neglected the shit out of the coolant that they had.
And ran
Some guy came in,
really
saw an opportunity, and is like, hey, let me give you a free bucket. Let me clean this machine for you and give you and recharge it for free. And they're like, wow, this cool. It's like you could have went from the same garbage to like fresh stuff and been like, and had I just had this conversation with a buddy of mine who's like, oh, Castrol MB50 sucks. We went to Qualchem and it's so good. And it's like, did you, like, when you did that, did you clean out the machine entirely like you did before?
Yeah.
Like you did with the Qualchem, and try it with the MB50? And he's like, no.
Mhm.
It's like, I bet if you did that and just refreshed it with the shit you had, you would have gotten the exact same
Pretty happy
result,
with it.
because
Yeah.
you just, yeah, you would
Do
have,
you
it
have a
would have
favorite
been like
coolant?
the same.
Do you have a favorite?
Castrol MB50 is the one that I like the best.
Okay.
And then probably Qualchem,
Yeah.
the Extreme Cut 250, 251, or whatever it
I don't
is.
remember which.
And then I've been using a lot of Trim lately.
Oh.
Trim is like really popular in like the Master Chemical stuff. The Trim, I can't remember the exact one, but it's
Careful.
very popular in Boise.
Okay.
Yeah, it's what we use. It's like very, very popular in Boise, and like that's repped very well there. So that's what we've been using in Boise, and I have really no complaints about that. That's like another thing, is like what's repped
I
around
was
you
gonna
and
say,
who
last
does
thing you
that.
just said
Yeah.
matters so much. I would say very similar with cutting tools. Uh,
Yeah. Machine
whatever
tools.
you can get good support from, machine tools is a big one.
Yeah.
Coolant, I've
Right.
never
Like
found
if
like a love. I've got a couple that are like they they cause grime and I don't like them.
mhm.
But yeah, well-maintained coolant is huge. So I think
Yeah.
the last one's probably a really good one to wrap up with. American maker CNC. Should a new machine shop make lights out manufacturing an early goal and priority? So
Mm,
I'll end. I mean, I'll answer and then I want to hear from you. So I've actually fairly recently told a few people if I was going to, leave Toolpath and go start a machine shop, I would build a business around, um, honestly, if it was me, it would probably be a Metzer with some pallet pull system.
right.
And, but I've also been around a long damn time and I have lots of perspectives that I don't, need to go into deep detail for, but, I also feel very similar to maybe what you've been kind of getting at here and there is like, just go make some freaking chips. What's the fast create?
Right.
What's the fastest? There's several follow-up questions I could ask. Like, oh, are you trying to make your own product? Or are you job shopping? Do you already have, customers lined
Mhm.
up and all that stuff? Um,
Yeah.
I think depends on your business situation. I think if you have your own product, just getting to making chips can't be valued enough. And then from there, yeah, I think the direction we're going as an industry, how expensive labor is, all that stuff. I think understanding your path to like running at night, things like that is an important path to at least put some thought into. So, what's your thought on all that?
Right. I'm pretty much right there with you. Like, I think it is I think it is a very good goal to have. Whether or not you start there really depends on, like, are you like one of these guys that's going out and being like, I bought a machine, how do I get work? I need work kind of guys.
Yeah.
Because if that's where you're at, then fuck no, dude. Like, what are you talking about? But if you have like essentially been like a you or I kind of guy, or like people that have been around and we have these like established networks, and you can kind of start being like, well, hey, like you can kind of like prod your network and be like, hey, I'm thinking about starting a shop. What do you like? You got any work I could have? And people are like, yes, yes, yes. Then it's like, okay, now we're talking about different levels of the machine that I'm going to buy versus like the automation that I'm going to buy. When you're more established and like, okay, like you're already at a point of, if I had a like, there's so many more things to this, which is like starting at the point of, all right, I know the system, like I know what I'm going to build, in terms of like, I'm not doing ITAR work, so I'm going to go with Fusion. I'm going to go with I'm just going to throw out HWR to plug my boy Thomas. Like, I'm going to go with HWR, and I'm going to go with Power Grip tooling and Fraser tooling, like Power Grip tool holders and Fraser tool holding. And like, and I know that that is what I'm going to be going at. And like, I can already establish like my niche, and boom, then you're starting there. I don't know if he actually said start there, or if that,
Yeah,
what
well,
can you
great
ask it
form.
again?
Should a new machine shop make lights out manufacturing an early goal or priority? So early is different than day one, right?
Mm, right. So I would say, Uh, no. Like, just based on that, I'm gonna say no. Like, really, like the early priorities should be, like, number first and foremost, what parts am I making?
Yeah.
Right? That's number one. Am I going general? Like, are you so new that you have no niche? But like, my number one thing, starting out would be like, what is the thing that I want to focus on?
Mhm.
Because if I don't know, like, everybody wants to be everything to everybody. Oh, I'm going to do production. I'm going to
Work
do
and
and prototype work and whatever.
yeah.
Like, are you going to do production work, like contract manufacturing, or are you going to do prototype work? Because those are like different worlds to live in, like different profit margins, different timelines, and different systems to build.
Yeah.
And like, so that is number one goal. That would be my number one. That would be at the top of my mind, is like, what is my niche going to be? Um, and that is always going to be, that's more like at the top, but kind of in the background constantly,
All
you
yeah.
know? Always. And then really like the next focus is going to be like, I need to really build my, I really need to build my templates, my tool library, my this, my that, my whatever. And like, how do I get to a point where whatever part I'm taking on, as I find my niche, is something that I can like really start to crank out like as quickly as possible. Or like, if I'm doing prototype work, or like, how do I get to the most optimized state as fast as possible if I'm doing production work, and then going through that whole rigmarole. So it's like, it's finding the niche, it's building your systems, like building your documentation out, and like, and like, when you get to a point of like, man, I like, my process is dialed. Process is going to be the number one thing, because if you don't have good processes, automation is going to fuck you up.
It's gonna feel
Like,
like
it
non
is
effort.
going to
Yeah.
yeah, it will, it like, it is exactly like what we were talking about with James's question, is if you introduce too many variables all at once, like, it can be extremely overwhelming. And like, trying to make automation work very early, without knowing what you're doing is difficult.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that being said, like, like, if you have 500 grand to spend, like, an MX 330, MX 420 is kind of like best of both worlds, so to speak. Um, but like, if you don't have that kind of money to spend, a stand like, and we're assuming that you're a mill shop, because most people start mill shops because it's way easy. But like, your and 5-axis right now is the place to
Yeah.
be. Like, you buy a UMC 500 for like 150 to 200,000, depending on how you option it. Standalone, you get that thing dialed, and then you slap a Trinity on it, and away you go. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Um, but I think, like, getting to lights out is very low as opposed to, like, establishing the business as a whole and creating all the systems around making yourself as efficient as possible.
Yep. I totally agree. I totally agree. Yeah, it's if you're starting from a shaky foundation, it's hard to build, good automation processes. The one example I'll use before I wrap up is coming to Toolpath, like just automating things like how you name your presets in Fusion. I thought I had
Mhm.
dialed in tool library on Earth, probably exaggerating, but I remember being very proud to
Right.
show it to Justin, like, oh, like I got all these really good preset names, and then realizing like, this Sunday I write, aluminum roughing, and the next Sunday I write ALU rough, just
Yeah.
like that, like being consistent, having really good processes, um, start stacking up to where like, oh, now all I got to do is that next, bit of automation. Right. Um,
Mhm.
yeah. And then like, to be honest, the last thing I'll say about, just lights out and automation is a big broad term, but feeding a 32 pallet, work cell, is a beast. It's a beast on sale,
Mhm.
accounts receivable,
Yeah.
keeping the tools fed, keeping the coolant, all that stuff. So your point of like, we don't really know the whole story behind this question, but yeah, if you get a UMC 500 and it's, fairly nicely spec'd, you can get like good parts in and out of that. You got to, you got to be able to predictably make good parts.
Right.
Once you feel like you can do that, you can inspect parts well. Doing the basics would be the absolute first priority. But yeah, as you're laying things out, like, oh, I'm gonna make my library so it'll be easy to automate later. I'm gonna come up with a good way to manage my coolant so I'm not, fucked later when I'm trying to run at night. Um,
Right.
there's just all those things. But yeah, think about automation. It should be in kind of in everybody's mind. Like, I'm not setting
Mhm.
myself up to where it's gonna feel like Mount Everest when it's time to do, get some runtime at night, right? And then even then,
Yeah.
like, just the day that you could close the door while the machine's still running for another hour was like a huge
Dude.
milestone huge
Yeah.
milestone, right? So that's like crawl,
Yeah.
walk, run. If you follow this, like, I want to be able to crawl before I walk and walk before I run.
Yep.
Very reasonable step. Like just being able to post a program to the machine and walk away without sitting there, your finger over the
Yeah.
button like there's a bomb gonna go off. So there's all those little baby
Yep.
steps you have to get to before you're even thinking about running lights out at
Mhm.
night. So
And those are things that, like, you just it's so easy to, like, "Oh, I need to," like, obviously, I get the machine, I automate. Done.
uh, um,
Yeah.
all right, Chris, I love chatting with you. We can chat for another 3 hours. I'm gonna go train the dirt
Yeah.
bike.
Ooh, 5.5 hour
Yeah.
podcast? Let's go,
Yeah.
baby.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna go change the dirt bike tire. Let's stay in touch. Thanks for your time. Let me see if I have any exit notes. Yeah, basically, thanks for everybody joining. We're trying to decide what this Chips and Tips podcast is going to be. If you like this, let us know.
Yeah.
Um,
Should probably put a promo code at the end of this
wow,
episode if somebody makes it
you
all
want
the way to
some?
the end of 2.5
You
hours.
want some breaking news? You want some breaking news? Uh,
Breaking choose, baby. Let's
breaking
go. Yeah.
news. So one of the things I'm excited about, Al Whatmo, it'll be announced before this podcast comes out, but um, we've been looking at going to a monthly subscription, right? So I have an annual and a
Mhm.
monthly, and we're at the end of our quarter, and we're looking for like, hey, how can we give some people some carrots to make the friction of getting into and trying Toolpath and using Toolpath lower, and so I've been kind of pushing like our user experience needs to be good enough to deserve uh going monthly because we want people to have a good experience. And if they commit to a year, they're probably a little more committed to learning Toolpath, right? So anyways,
Right.
finally happy enough to do monthly promo. So there's going to be a really good deal for people doing trials. Um where they can get a promo, a monthly subscription fee without any like upcharge, like paying a premium for monthly over a year.
Cool.
I'm excited.
Nice.
I think that'll help a lot of people, be comfortable getting into Toolpath as we're still maturing and stuff like that. So that's my sales guy promo stuff. If you want, try trial. You'll get Paul and our team will reach out to you and let you know what all the latest cool deals are. But we've been kicking ass. I'm excited. I'm beyond excited about where we are with Toolpath, where I'm way out of my league. I don't know how I duped him into this position, but it's been a fun ride. So
you have a good brain. Relax.
What's that?
Said you have a good brain. You have a good brain.
Well,
relax.
I'll try. So anyways, if you like the podcast, tell us, subscribe, do all that stuff, and we'll get this thing up and burning soon. Thanks for your time, Zap.
Yeah, thank you.
Cheers, bud.